welcome to another episode of Critical Critique Pulls on Point. Today, it's just me and Ellie again, but my Twitter alarm, my Twitter radar has been dinging me. It's been going bing, 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 bing. It's been going, and there's been this whiff, this odor, this smell that's permeated into my nostrils. The smell of content has come back to us.
In the desert.
Yes, the oasis in the desert has given us great offering. That is this video from some random channel I've never heard of before.
And to be fair, we have not watched the video of, so who knows? Maybe this is an accident.
We're going in 100% blind. The only thing I know about this video is I saw someone on Twitter retweeted someone else into my feed, and they were talking about like something about this being about anime because the thumbnail, which you don't get to see, I don't think on the watch together, right, is anime's self-insert problem. So the title of the video is Anime's Everyman Problem, but the thumbnail says Anime's self-insert problem, and it has a big picture of Kirito on it. So people were making the point of totally. It reminds me a lot of, you remember the Normality stuff, right? Where Normalities was trying to make the point of ReZero and the male power fantasy, right? Yeah, the male power fantasy of, being trapped in a death game and having to worry about dying constantly.
Well, it's more
watching your friends die before your very eyes, and having post-traumatic stress disorder because of what you went through in the video game.
I'm more into. I like to take the angle more of that Subaru's hikikomori mindset and trauma and whole hang-ups gets big addressed in the second season. And he, you can see he's very happy. Yay, yeah, I'm cool. But that's all to hide his insecurity, of course. And I think that's more of a sign of a good character that is not self-insert than him watching friends die, because sometimes.
So how about Kirito? So Kirito is a bit more self-inserty, you reckon?
Yeah, but he's written by 15-year-olds or 14-year-olds.
So in the context, right, it kind of, yeah. And I mean, to his credit, I think both over time and also with SAO Progressive, right, he's author bro. I always forget his name, but author
Reiki something.
It has made strides in his writing to make the character, make things better. And as time has progressed, I think Kirito has kind of become more of his own character now, I believe.
I mean, his second
SAO,
work,
so I don't know.
His second work, Excel World, has a far more. It's a short, fat character.
It's a lot better, yeah. It's a lot better. So I'm interested to see where this video goes, kind of, because, yeah, I had a look at this guy's channel, and it's kind of a mixed variety of content. Interesting thumbnail work, I'll give him that, but, this was the one video that kind of stood out, other than a lot of the other ones that seem a little bit not our cup of tea or wheelhouse, but this one definitely seems quite on topic for what we have expertise in. So I guess we will just jump right into it and see what the guy's point is.
I love anime, but most anime isn't worth watching. There, I said it. Doesn't matter if it's in this world or another, anime has just hit that oversaturation point where there's too much of it, and quality control is asleep at the wheel, meaning you can and will find some of the most boring, cliche shows imaginable, with easily some of the worst protagonists I've ever seen, with even peak women being unable to save these basic-ass men. That's right, we're talking about anime's everyman problem.
Okay. Starting off strong. Starting off first 30 seconds. Starting off strong.
Not really. These examples of Rito right here and the protagonist of Smartphone Isekai and I don't know the guy's name in Monster Girl Musume.
I don't know. I don't think his name matters.
And he showed Kirito, and it's kind of...
He's showing the popular examples people recognize.
But I don't... You can... I'd rather him mentions or, show why he picked these characters instead of showing the characters and having us assume.
To be fair, we are only 30 seconds in. Maybe he's going to. But my point is more kind of... I don't know. Is there actually an oversaturation problem?
Nah.
Because this is the thing, right? I feel like you could go back to any season from any year, right? You could go onto Anime List or AnyChart or whatever one you're using, right? And you could go back and go, right, let's go back to like 1995, right? And I'm pretty sure there were a lot of shows that came out in like 1995 that you've probably never even heard of because they were shit and no one cared about them, right? Like, this is is there a term for this? I know there's like it's not confirmation bias. Recency bias is maybe the one to go with, right? Like, there's got to be a term for this where it's like people don't remember the shit, right? Like, if we went back to let's take like Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, right? Back when that was airing. What year was that even? That was quite a while ago. It was like 2012, wasn't it? Something around there.
I have no idea.
I know it was like, yeah, I'm not going to go look it up, but I know it was like quite a while ago, right? It was a long time ago. For all you Zoomers, it was a long time ago. But you might not have even been born yet. But Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, I'm pretty sure if you went back onto that season, right, there would be like, if you sort by like popular, right, you'd get all of the popular shit that you know about, that came out in like around that time, right? But then there'll be like probably a solid 20 shows below that are just like no one remembers them because they were either probably I don't know, dating sim animes, a few Joshi animes, probably some sports stuff tossed in there, a couple of ecchi shows that no one probably watched but me, right? Like, there's probably a whole bunch of these shows that just get memory hold when people think about, like, oh, anime is so oversaturated now. There's so many more shows coming out, and oh man, but it's just, people have been saying this for decades. Okay, people have been saying this since the 2000s, right? People have been saying this for so long that everything's oversaturated. Hell, I've probably even said it, but like, is it actually true? Is it less that there's more coming out, but it's more likely the case of there's not enough stuff that you want coming out, right? Like, you know me, I'm the perv, right? I'm the ecchi man. I could be here bitching about how, there's not enough high school DxDs or to love Roos or love Hinas or, UQ holders or whatever. There's not enough of them coming out. Anime is so oversaturated with all this other shit, that I don't care about. This is horrible. What am I going to do, Ellie? Oh no.
I think it's really just I like a specific thing, and that this specific thing isn't showing up, but these more mainstream,
all
more
these
generalized
All these isekais are showing up. I don't like these isekais, but there's so many of them. What do? I don't like these moe shows. I don't like them. What do? I don't like these mecha shows. You know, like this has been
Shonen
going
battles.
on. This has been going on for fucking decades, and people act like this is like a recent fucking development.
You know, there's writing from the good old Roman times. The ancient Romans wrote that the younger generation is just terrible, has a terrible handwriting, can't even write properly.
They're totally illiterate. They don't know
Illiterate.
How to
There's
read,
no hope for the next generation. And the next generation is Galileo or whatever, or Archimedes.
Yeah. Exactly. So it's like, yeah, no, I can understand the sentiment from the perspective of, because I think the common argument is like, oh, there's only so many resources, right? There's only so many studios and so many production teams and so much money that can be pumped into this, and yet a lot of it is going into these like low effort shows. But I don't think that's the case. I don't think that the fact that an isekai show comes out is taking like a slot, you know, like it's kind of like, you know when Smash Brothers was a big thing, right? And everyone would get really, really mad when, I don't know, like another Fire Emblem character was announced because they're taking a slot away from a character I wanted, you know, like that kind of, I feel like that's what's going on, right? I feel like there's this idea of, oh, because this show got made instead of something I liked, that took that opportunity away. When I'm going to take a wild guess and stab in the dark and say if you looked at how the actual production of these shows happens, that's not the case at all. What gets funded and what gets made and what gets created and produced, I don't think that it's a matter of, oh, that this is taking away from something. It's probably just the suits up at the top looking down below, looking at the metrics and the numbers, and they're going, oh man, look, all these Zoomers these days, they're reading all these isekais on these websites, you know. Man, that SAO, man, that sold so much money, you know, we better look into this. This might be a
we
money
don't even have to scout for talent. We just pick the number one on this website. We don't have...
Yeah. Oh, shit, dude.
Easy.
Just pick, easy money. Easy, you know. So that's what I mean. I just wanted to make that. I have a bit of a rant. I'm feeling energetic. I'm fucking pumped right now. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm like, ooh, yeah, content time. So yeah, let's keep going. Let's see what else we've got to hear from this guy.
And since for basically no reason, the last video I did on the subject just hit 2 million views. Only God and the algorithm knows why this one went off.
Shit, dude. This dude's pulling in the numbers, Ellie. Oh no.
I'm still punching up.
Still punching up, man. Still punching up.
Figured I might as well do the sequel. Because if you thought Hollywood had a problem pandering to its audience, trust me, you haven't seen anything yet. Now, context. For those of you who
sounded like
don't
an
know,
edit.
Maybe.
He said, he said you have seen nothing yet, but he cut out nothing, and he said seen. And what did he say actually?
Actually, I'll go back for you.
Do the sequel. Because if you thought Hollywood had a problem pandering to its audience, trust me, you haven't seen anything yet. Now, context.
You haven't seen nothing yet, and he replaced it with you haven't anything yet. But he started with the end sound of nothing, and then he.
Yeah, I noticed that now. Yeah, now they're going back. Yeah. Oh man, God.
Who don't know. A few months back, I made a video about the second most notorious thing to come out of Transylvania, Johnny and Mavis. The love story about everyone's 118-year-old goth crush hooking up with the first man she ever met, because a random stoner was just the perfect guide to end centuries of...
Okay, I should probably contextualize this. When I was looking at this guy's YouTube channel, a lot of ship-related content. A lot of content about, oh, this ship, these two characters, and is this canon or not? Or oh man, this ship and this ship is bad, or this ship. So I get the feeling that this is part of that. I got no fucking leg in that race. I don't give a shit.
Nah, I've never seen or consumed any Transylvania content.
Yeah, I don't know about this like ship content stuff, whatever. I'm like, all right, whatever floats your boat, man. Whatever floats your boat. I just figured I'd say that for like, because you know, people watching this might not be familiar with like what the fuck he's talking about right now. So I kind of wanted to fucking just let's
prejudice. Right after he stole their women, despite having more chemistry with their dads. Now, I don't like Johnny. He's fine in the first film, but he does highlight this Western trend of a main character being made painfully bland to serve as an audience surrogate, who's just here so that we can have a character who studios think is just like us. It can have all the reactions and questions we would have in this situation, all while being unnaturally rewarded with a wife, respect, and not having to pay rent at the end. For basically just existing. The everyman trope has its place. It's a valuable narrative tool for getting the audience up to speed.
Everyman trope? I never heard it referred as such.
I know what he's talking about when he says that because he just explained it, but I've always like assumed like self-insert is the term.
Audience surrogate.
Audience surrogate. Like he used all of those words and now I think he's decided to settle on everyman. He kind of went through every single one of the synonyms and now he's decided, oh yeah, I'm going to settle on everyman. But I think this is actually, God, I'm having like flashbacks to normalities, right? Because normalities also kind of talked about like inserting and people inserting themselves into characters and that kind of thing, right? A little bit, if I recall correctly. So I'm kind of I'm having a bit of a flashback to oh god. Because the thing is like it is like he said, right? It is a narrative tool, right? Because if you have a character that's the fish out of water, right? You know, who's been thrust into this other world, if we use Isekai as the example, right? It is a very useful tool because you can have that character be like, oh, what does this mean, right? What is this? How does this magic system work? I'm not familiar with how this works. You can have them ask questions that normal people that would be familiar with like the mechanics, right, wouldn't ask, so that you can then expose that to the reader or the viewer, right? So I kind of feel like, yeah, it is kind of a useful sort of narrative tool from the writer's perspective, but I can understand how from like a viewer's perspective it could be annoying because it almost feels like you're being kind of preached to, maybe a little bit. How do you feel about the trope?
The trope of the average guy.
The average man thrust into the magical kingdom where he has to figure everything out, and he's used as the fucking mechanism for the writer to be like, hey,
I think it's
a spell, that's how that works.
I think I like it, but I like to have the character have a kind of a hang up. Subaru here in view is a hickey, and he obviously is hiding his insecurity with an overly cheerful personality.
Right.
And
he's not just like a one-dimensional character.
Yeah. And though this is still just a two-dimensional thing, there's still no depth to it. Character who is kind of sad but hides it by being happy. That's still kind of basic. But
it's basic, but it's more than like it's more than some people get. Let's be real. To be fair,
sure, but that kind of thing is a good basis to start.
Yeah,
on.
It's a start point, and then you can build from there. Yeah, and make them more complex as you go along the story.
Yeah. Or you can go, Final Fantasy 14 and write a bland character and go, no, that was actually the intention all along.
Yeah, he was meant to be boring.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
very rarely is that done correctly. I like though Byleth in Fire Emblem Three Houses. He is kind of a bland character. some hints of personality, but then you get a reason, and then, oh damn, that's actually kind of cool now. But then you have many other characters that are actually the focus.
Yeah. All right, let's continue.
In an organic way, so that other characters don't come off as unnatural, explaining every piece of information to people who should definitely already know.
Oh, that's what I just said.
This is a problem movies have had for years. It's the only reason Chris Pratt had a career. But for all the crap I gave Hotel Transylvania, it does not hold a candle to the bullshit anime gets away with.
They've started me off with as a joke. If you're gonna summon lazy-ass kids like me to your world, you better overhaul your crappy welfare program!
Now, I love anime. Always have, always will. But the sad fact about getting older is admitting some of the stuff you used to love as a kid was terrible and porn with extra steps. Everyone should have their guilty.
Oh yeah, here we go. Here it comes. Oh man. But I'm trying not to like dominate the conversation, Ellie. You're being very submissive today on the cast.
Yeah, but it's just kind of. Maybe I should talk more, because this is all kind of basic things like, oh, anime has these problems. I like anime for the other reasons, and ecchi is just porn but weak. Why just
it's
not
weak porn? Yeah.
Yeah, why not just watch porn instead?
Yeah. It's the common
this is just
nonsense. It's normally as shit.
It's high horsing, ivory towering. Oh, I can admit that anime is bad. Why can't you admit anime is bad, Niretsu? Aren't you too insecure?
I fucking hate. Don't even, dude. Do you want me to rant about that for half an hour? Because I'll fucking go on about that. Fucking my taste is shit, and I'm shit. Fucking nonsense, irony. Fucking. No, I hate that shit. I hate that insecure fucking nonsense these people fucking spew, where they're like, oh man, I'm so mature because I only watched good. I like the anime, but I hate all of the foundational elements that make anime because I think that I'm a big boy now and I can't enjoy some anime titties because that's maturity. It's like, fuck off. You know, at least I'll fucking admit that I'm a goddamn pervert that likes to look at some goddamn anime titties because anime titties are fucking amazing, alright? Do I sound fucking insecure about the fact that I like my anime titties, Ellie? No,
I think
I don't,
you're overcompensating.
Oh, yeah.
I think you're just pretending.
Oh, yeah, I'm just pretending.
You're just doing it for the views.
I'm doing it for the, yeah. Oh, yeah, all 3 of the views. Yeah. Yeah. Those free views are here because I'm constantly going on about my anime titties. Yeah, fuck off. These fucking people. But anyway.
Pleasures. And younger kids should be able to watch their power fantasies without slander. Yet it's kinda different now. Or back in the day, all you had was like 2 channels and piracy with maybe 20 shows in between all of them. Crunchyroll alone.
Oh god, I swear to Christ, if he's sponsored by Crunchyroll, I'm gonna lose my fucking mind. I'm gonna fucking die. I'm gonna lose it. I swear to God.
Is dropping an entire season's worth of anime every single week. There'll always be good shows, but the trash, there be a lot more of it, and it's all identical.
With that image again.
Okay.
Well then.
Okay, so do you want Allie? I've got a stunning revelation for you. I have a stunning, amazing. I've had an epiphany as to how to solve this problem once and for all. Do you want to hear it? Do you want to hear my great idea to solve this problem?
Yeah, I can give you the edgy answer, or I can give you the actual answer.
Okay, well, my answer is just don't fucking watch the trash.
All right.
Just don't fucking watch. Do you know how many anime I'm watching this season, Ellie? I'm watching 2. I'm watching 2. 2 fucking shows. I've got like maybe, I don't know, 3 or 4 that I've like watched like maybe the first episode of and I'll come back to later on. But like in terms of seasonal watching, like week by week, I'm only watching 2 shows. Right?
Same. We're watching the same thing.
I'm not watching all 50-something shows that are coming out in a season. Why?
Oh,
because
free.
most of them are not interesting to me, and I don't care to be part of some... Oh God, I'm trying not to slur on YouTube. Part of some homosexual conversations that the community may or may not be having about these 50-something shows, right? I'm not watching anime to be part of some community nonsense. I'm watching anime because I'm bored and I find that shit entertaining, right? So I'm only going to watch the shit that I give a shit about, right? So many people fall into this trap where they're like, oh man, I got to watch all of these animes. I got to watch every anime that's ever fucking existed. It's like, no, you don't have to watch every anime that's fucking existed. Just watch the shit that interests you. You know, who gives a shit what other people fucking think or watch? You know, like, god damn. So anyway, what's your edgy answer? I'm interested now. You've piqued my interest, Ellie. What's your edgy answer for me?
Burn it down.
You're gonna Jerry Freeman up the anime industry.
Yes.
Burn it down. Oh no. But no, I just I hate this nonsense that's been perpetuated by the quote unquote community where it's like, no, you don't have to watch everything. You're not being forced to watch everything. You could just pick a choose. If you don't want to watch the isekais, then just don't watch the isekais. You could just not watch it. Just shut up about it. Just watch what you care about. If you only want to watch like Attack on Titan or Naruto or Bleach or whatever anime, that's My Hero Academia is a more like recent example of a big popular long running thing, right? If that's all you care about and all you want to watch, then just do that. It's fine. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I'm just kind of I'm kind of disappointed. It's kind of such a standard video, such standard takes.
So
anime.
far this is like normie as shit. This is I'm trying to make this entertaining by being in hyper rant mode right now, but this is pretty fucking like we've heard all of this before, right? Like this is like very common. Typical normie anime fucking takes, right? Like, oh, there's too many animes. It's all boring self-insert guys. Oh, my anime titties are spooky,
He's using shows from like 20 years apart. Not to 10 years apart. It's kind of weird to talk about recently when your other main example is To Love Ru, which is at least 10 years old.
Oh, when did Darkness come out? I can't even.
No, the original, because he showed the original To Love Ru.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, shit, fuck, that was ages ago. Yeah, I don't even remember.
That's what I mean. It's such an old.
But anyway, you ready for another like 20 minutes of this? Because
there, yeah, the start.
We should get cracking.
Being a race to the bottom for who can rip off a better show the fastest, as the anime industry pays its animators.
Oh shit, a graph. Here we go. Holy shit, statistics, Ellie. Anime Dormitory Project, actually a pretty good source to be honest. So we're looking at animators 2019 through to Jan. It's the lowest pay I've received since becoming an animator. Yeah, man, I feel for that shit though. I feel for these animators that are getting fucking shafted. It's just a shame the rest of the community doesn't. Because they'd rather give their money to Crunchyroll than give money to the anime dormitory. Funnily enough, actually, I saw I got an email because I actually supported the anime dormitory a long time ago. I sent them some money because of Unique Namosaurus's Pirates of the West campaign, which was fucking great, by the way. He's a shout out to him, even though his NFT video was quite fun to watch. That's a topic maybe for another day. I think I don't want to get into that.
Well, I don't know exactly what you're talking about, so let's keep on.
But basically, I gave them some money. So I got some emails recently about how they're apparently doing a collaborative, I think it's like an anime music video, or so, like an animated video or some type. It's on their GoFundMe or something. They're doing a GoFundMe for it. It's going to be a whole bunch of animators collaborating on this project. And I think they've already made like a good fucking chunk of change to make this like collaborative project that they were talking about. But it was interesting getting the email from them like a year later, and I'm like, wait, oh yeah, that's right, it's that guy. But back to the point though, this is again stuff we already know. We already know that the animators are underpaid. The actual artists are not getting paid what they should be getting paid because that's how the industry is set up. And by supporting that industry via your Crunchyroll subscriptions, quote unquote.
Well, the thing is though, it's I'm very open to hear something again. But I haven't heard an original thought or a compelling thought. It's just
rehashing the same shit. Yeah,
and I get the feeling there's just getting a grabbing every little bit of scrap to support the idea that anime should be better. I get this. It's just one example, but I get the feeling that this video would be a constructed argument that anime is kind of bad and it should be better, and the animator's pay doesn't really matter for the quality of the anime, right? It's a moral argument, and it's animators should be paid more. But that's not really connected to anything regarding the writing of the anime. These are the animators.
It also doesn't decide what animes are going to be getting adapted, as we went over before, right? Like it's not like the animators have a say on what work they get contracted for, right? Because the way it typically works is they get contracted by a rights holding company. They'll go, hey, we're going to give you this amount of budget. We want you to make this amount of episodes for this thing, right? That from my understanding, from my own research, that's kind of how it works. Is it's like, hey, the rights holder company or whatever, or the board is going to go, hey, you anime studio, fucking make thing here, money. There you go. Like they don't unless it's like a in-house. Like anime original,
that's
and
different.
even then, those are going to be like quite rare, right? Like it's usually, if we're talking about especially with these isekai adaptations from web novels and light novels, it's going to be contract work basically. It's going to be and usually they're already paid. Maybe not necessarily up front, but they're usually like the amount of money they get is already decided, right? So the salary the animators are going to get is going to be like a trickle down of here is the overall budget for the project. You have to make it within this, right? I could be just talking out my ass. I'd have to do my research again, but that is what I've heard from other anime tubers and other sources, going around the internet. So again, it's like you said, like this idea of, animators don't get paid enough, and this means anime bad. It's a bit more complicated than that.
To repeat myself, the animator's pay has nothing to do with that there are too many everymans, but because these are written in manga first, or light novels, or web novels, etc., etc., etc. So unless somehow this animator's pay gets connected to the quality of the main character, I don't see how this is even relevant.
Yeah. Let's see how he ties it in. Maybe he does. I don't think he's going to, but let's see.
Nothing. So there's no reason for any semi-popular light novel or manga to shove out a couple mil to make a 12-episode commercial that ends with them begging you to buy the rest of the series. And it feels like a lot of the stories that are written by people that only have ever watched other anime. So the stories come off as cliche as they're...
You smell that? I'm smelling a different smell. This is another very common smell, Ellie. When you can use smell that. It's that anime tunnel vision smell. It's got that very distinctive musk of because you hear what he said there. He's saying these animes are written by not these.
There is. It's kind of. I think it's just too authoritative on what reasons is, because famous YouTuber Pause and Select Joe actually has an interview sourced an interview about smartphone isekai, where the point of smartphone isekai is communication. Because what he brings is a mobile phone, ostensibly a method of communication. So that isn't really grounded in anime or just anime, right? Because
it has a central theme.
And almost all of these things have it. I suppose
to use our personal favorite, Overlord.
Yeah,
it's based on the author's D&D campaigns. He ran with his bros.
So much D&D.
Yeah, it's he would run these games. I think we've talked about this before on the cast at some point, but it's like he would run these games with his bros, and he would I think it was that and a mixture of MMOs. He was big into his MMOs and his D&Ds. So he'd run these campaigns, and he'd play these MMOs. But then eventually, all his friends got jobs. They couldn't, do the D&Ds anymore. They couldn't have the fun campaigns with the Ainses and the stuff, right, and all of the characters, right, in their D&D campaign. So they had he was like, oh, I'll make a story about these campaigns instead, because it's all there for me. I'll write up a thing about it. And so he writes up Overlord, right, which the very premise of it is kind of the same thing. It's Ainz is in his MMO, it's gonna get shut down, all his friends have left, he's the only one left, who's still holding on to that thing that he really liked.
And
right?
That's a very powerful, and you can connect it with
very relatable feelings and very relatable emotions.
Who played in a club, who played soccer, football, or hockey.
And they all grow up. They all get jobs.
Going to another school, being the only kid who stayed in the neighborhood while the others moved away.
Yeah,
and there's a million different things and reasons. To
it's not just the author of Overlord watched a lot of anime, so he wrote Overlord to copy the anime that he watched, right?
And even though Overlord has a flying castle, he copied that from Laputa Castle in the sky. I don't care. It's not shown in the anime, it's a light novel only.
And what's the problem of adding some shit in that you saw in other media that you think is cool if you put your own twist on it, right? Like, what's so bad about having... I mean, Hideaki Anno, the big Eva man, fucking put so many goddamn Ultraman references to cite the meme, right? Like, oh man, I hope everyone loves these Ultraman references I put into Evangelion, right? Like, it's kind of like, there's nothing actually inherently wrong with that. If it's like, if that's what you want to create, and you want to what? I'm trying to remember because I don't like just repeating the same shit. I try not to, but I remember at some point I may or may not have talked about it on a cast. I was watching an artist. I think his name's like Dishwasher or something on Twitch. He's a guy that does art for like Azura Lane now. Like he does contract work for gotcha games and stuff now. He's become quite big. He was talking about how I think someone asked him a question in the chat. He was like, "Oh, I'm trying to become a better artist. I want to like be as good as X artist, or I have artists that I look up to and I want to be like them." And his answer was just flat out, you should start copying them. You should look at what they're doing. You should watch them do speed draws. You should watch them do streams. You should watch them. How do they draw? How do they construct their works, right? How do they do it? And then you should just try your best to one-to-one imitate them. And he said the reason you do that is because you're going to fail. You're going to fail at imitating them. And through failing to imitate your idols, you are going to end up eventually creating your own style through failure, right? Because that's why when because of my background, right, doing creative studies and stuff, right? That's why you have artist models in art school / high school level art, at least, right? You're told, oh, you need to pick the 1, 2, 3 artists, and then you have to like research them and do all that stuff. It's so that you can take parts from their styles and adapt them to create your own style through attempting to imitate that, right? Because what was the direct quote? Because he quoted I can't remember who it was, but it was some famous like US TV star or whatever, from like some late night show, right? And he was like, you try to imitate your idols and then you fail and you end up landing in the stars or some shit. I can't quite remember the exact quote, but it was something like that, and it kind of stuck with me because the general idea is like, yeah, even though you are like quote unquote copying, and everyone seems to think copying is bad, right? That's actually how people learn, right? That's how you evolve as an artist and you get better. And eventually you'll grow your own techniques because you'll go, oh man, that artist does it that way. I wonder if that would work with this other artist who does it that way, right? And you start putting all these ideas into the pot and you mix them around and eventually you end up with your own unique kind of thing. And I'm going to say that that's kind of the same for writing and other artistic mediums, right? These, light novel authors are probably reading other light novels. They're probably watching animes. They're probably playing video games, especially playing video games, considering how many of these stories have video game mechanics in them, right? And they're probably going, oh man, I really like this idea. I'm going to adapt that into my work. And, you get the shitters, right? You get the ones that are just shit.
And they also get every 5 reads a month and don't get anywhere.
Yeah. But then every now and then you get that one that kind of shines through, even though it's still derivative, right? Even though it still has all of these elements, of these different things. So I don't think it's an inherently bad thing that you have these works existing, like you have these like derivative kind of works. I think it's just part of the creative process. It's just part of how shit works. And you don't have to like it, but God, I'm ranting up a storm. This is going to be a long fucking episode at this rate.
I just wanted to, for a copying example, right? 3 things or two copies that are kind of neat. Laputa. Laputa is based on something I don't care. Now it's the original. Nobody has ever thought of it before. Then you have Overlord. Copies it. Instead of it's also an abandoned castle, but it's an abandoned castle with a guy living in there now, and he's using it as a base to watch how the world is going. Kind of a secret base kind of deal. Then is Mushoku Tensei. It's also a base to see how the world is going, etc., but it's manned by a kind of a Navy SEAL world police.
Right.
Because, in Mushoku Tensei, suddenly the guy from the castle shows up and goes, "You're a threat. I'm going to kill you now." And see, that's also kind of a copy of Laputa and kind of maybe even a copy of what Overlord did. And they're all neat.
Yeah. Yeah, they're all neat. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, let's continue.
They're just doing the tropes that's popular without understanding why it was done in the original, which is why there's so many fucking terrible isekai stories out there. Why every show now has to have a harem. By far, though, the worst thing to come out of the copy of a copy process is the protagonists. They don't exist. This is where I really have to draw this first big distinction between my last video. While Johnny, love him or hate him, he is an everyman. He does his job as an audience surrogate. The problem that anime has, though, is that they took it a step further. They leapt off a cliff, decided this was fine, then died going headfirst into a pile of money. These animes don't make surrogates, they're self-inserts. With a not so subtle difference being, a surrogate is just a character who is like you. An insert is just you.
I get the reason, but this kind of feels kind of arbitrary. The characters I like are surrogates, the characters I don't like are self-inserts.
Kinda. Yeah, like I didn't pause for like he's just saying the same shit. he's just saying the same shit we've already gone over, really. But it's kind of like I don't know. I feel like you could make the argument that there is a differentiation between like a self-insert and an everyman in a way, but I don't know because even like. It would depend. You'd have to look at it story by story, right? Like even like some of the most blandest kind of isekai protagonists might have something more interesting going on, but yeah, I don't know. I'm not familiar enough.
It just so far there has been no attempt to make a distinction, and there's no even no cinematic thing of making a distinction. Rito from Turavu was lumped together with Subaru. It was shown right in between this character of smartphone isekai. So he's showing them all.
Plus the character from Monster Musume. Yeah.
So he's showing all these characters with no distinction or separation or something to show that they're distinguishable from each other. And now he's suddenly making this distinction, but I don't... Unless he now starts making a distinction or sets clear criteria, it's just, for me, going to be characters I like are audience surrogate, characters I don't like are self-insert.
I wouldn't say, like, characters he likes, because he obviously has stated in the video he doesn't necessarily like the Transylvania guy, right? So like I think
likes
it's going to be
more.
Yeah, that's what I mean, right? Like I wouldn't say he likes, but it's more like it's like you said, he has to kind of we have to kind of get to the point where he's like actually explaining, okay, this is how this is different. Right? We need to get that distinction. So let's see if he does
Took
it.
what little character these guys had left, cut out their faces, and slapped yours right on top, with the only difference between any of them anymore being the kind of power fantasy and the size of the ocean of bitches these guys are drowning in. Now, I'll defend power fantasies. If the fights are cool and the music rocks, I'll cheer for just about anything. But even then, I think it still needs to at least pretend to not be trying to sell me something.
Also,
My Hero Academia,
Monster Musume, or whatever it's called, is not an isekai. So I don't really... He's talking a lot about isekai.
I think he's like probably using isekai just because that's the big thing everyone raps about, but he's talking about anime in general. Like he's talking about anime in a general sense, but isekai is just the thing that's the punching bag that he can use.
How Monster Musume was made and how it came to be an anime is a completely different story. It's a completely different lineage to how isekai,
and it's a completely different type of show too. Right, like the power fantasy in Monster Musume is the guy gets all of the bitch and monster girls, and like that's the point of the work, right? Like him being the bland kind of self-insert sort of makes sense in that context, right? Because that's the point of the fantasy of that. But he's trying to take that and then equate it to all other isekais or all other animes, right? And now he's probably going to be like, I'm going to assume right now he's about to be like, oh, but My Hero Academia doesn't do that, right? Oh, they're all actual characters, right? Is what I'm going to assume he's about to say.
But to dunk on him for 1 second, or kinda, is that Monster Musume was first a short, ecchi manga, and it became popular enough to become an actual manga and to become an anime. Right, first kind of a funny web thing to a maybe it was in a magazine, funny ecchi thing, and it became a real manga and a real anime, etc. The isekai works that he's complaining about, he has a point, or there is a point, or he heard it and now he's making it a point and misusing it, whatever the case. These isekai works are built upon a shared language. So you can say these isekai, smartphone and Ragnarok he's showing, Sword Art Online, it's not in isekai, but it shares the same language.
Yeah.
So you could, there is a good argument, kinda, to in the sense that these share the same language, but not Monster Musume.
A lot of them come from the same place too, right? They come from Shosetsu, or they come from other websites like Shosetsu, right? Like there's a shared kind of osmosis community going.
Yeah, that's what I mean, right? Language, because
where they're all taking from each other, and
because Overlord started on it was not on Sword Art Online, didn't start on Shosetsu, etc. So I'm taking I'm using the language of, they have a shared language,
right.
But so there's an argument that they are kind of the same and reading each other and copying each other, but that is not the case at all for Monster Musume. That's not the case at all for Rito of To Love Ru. That's not really the case for. Did he show another thing? I don't know.
I don't even know. Yeah. He'll probably show it again.
Yeah, but there's this kind of muddying the water, mixing things up, and then saying that the darling from the main character from Monster Musume is also this power fantasy. Reading only other anime protagonists, same as Rito. Rito only is a copy of another protagonist. Yeah.
When in a lot of those cases, I don't think it's going to be a matter of them just copying each other. That I feel like, at least in the Monster Musume case, the choice to make the main character like that is 100% deliberate, because it assists with the type of thing that it is. Right?
Yeah, but
and you can not like that, right? And you can not like that, that's fine, but I just don't think that it ties into his overall message of anime as a whole has this problem, right?
I'm just more feeling that he's using whatever bad what he thinks as bad as an example of what he wants. So he picks on isekai because that's a big easy target, and he has a point, I guess.
Picks on ecchi because that's also a common target.
But then he mixes the two up, and then he says that every single piece that he thinks is bad in one section applies to everything in all. So the darling in Monster Musume is overpowered and is a copy of watching too much anime. And the Overlord is drowning in bitches.
It's ironic that he's going to use Hero Arca as an example of it being done right or whatever, when Hero Arca has a lot of derivative stuff in it. It had a tournament arc, for fuck's sake.
Oh, it's a Battle Shonen. That's
Yeah,
standard
exactly.
as-
It follows the format just as much as any other battle shonen. Sure, it has its differences and it has its own way of going about how it does its arcs, right? Or all those particular tropes, but it still follows those particular tropes, right? And that might be a little bit outside the scope of him talking about solely anime protagonists, right? But I think it's worth noting that if he's going to criticize anime protagonists for having this problem, he should be criticizing, other tropes too. He should be doing the same thing.
This kind of ties into my thing of that whenever it's good, it's something else. In the no true Scotsman kind of thing.
Well, let's try not to repeat ourselves. I want to hear his point on Hero Arco. What's he going to say?
Maybe a power fantasy for young boys, but Deku is his own character, with his own struggles. He's a shy nerd who overthinks things, but his relationships with the other characters are nuanced, and his interactions with them give him a unique voice. Compare that to something like the dude from Conception, where we have no personality, and he's just here.
Conception is based off a fucking itchy game. It is literally a video game adaptation.
Yeah, this is just my.
I haven't played Conception, to be fair, so I don't know what the protagonist is like in Conception, right? But that shit is like, this would be like, the fucking virtual novel protagonist in the virtual novel is a the dating sim protagonist is a self-insert. Who would have guessed? How could this have happened?
I'm blaming him, kind of grasping for bad.
Well, I'm trying not, because you're just repeating yourself, right?
Yeah.
But it's just like the issue here is like all of these things he's using are not the same. They don't have the same heritages. They don't have the same intent behind the characters, and they're not even probably the same kind of self-insert, right? Like I don't like. There's probably no personality to the main character in Conception or whatever, because there probably wasn't a whole lot to begin with, right? And again, I'm not trying to knock the game or anything because I haven't played it, right? But like, it's like fucking trying to call a spade a goddamn hoe. you know what I mean?
It would work with a lot of effort.
Like if he should have stuck to one genre, right? You should have been like, right, I'm going to talk about isekai, or I'm going to talk about, specifically this type of self-insert, right? Like this dating sim self-insert or whatever. Because I'm going to, say this now, I feel like the type of self-insert in Monster Musume is a completely different kind to something from like an isekai show, because you'd have to watch the isekai show to be able to see, maybe this character does actually have somewhat of a personality or whatever going on, and it's a bit different than that. I'm trying to not use the common examples that we know. Overlord is obviously an example where Ainz has like fucking almost two personalities going on at once because he has to play the act, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's a juggling act going on there, right? But there's also, Subaru, again, as we brought up, he's got his own shit going on. There's many examples you could probably find, unless you're looking at the bottom of the barrel kind of shit. I'm actually shocked he even brought up Conception, because that shit's niche as shit. The only reason I know what that is because I keep my ear to the ground in terms of ecchi shit, right? So I know about Conception, in general. I haven't engaged with it, but I know about it, right? So he's going out of his way to find this shit, is what I'm saying. It's like you were saying, he's grasping at the straw. It's really hard, but let's keep going.
Here to collect kids like Pokemon cards. There's a
yeah, because that's the point of the game. The whole wait a minute. Look, I haven't played Conception, but from what I understand, based on it should be in the name as well. I believe the mechanics of the game is that you bang bitches And that gives you like kids that there's like this whole. It's called conception. It's fucking. Oh, my brain is breaking, Ellie. I'm fucking losing it. I'm losing my mind right now. Like there's a reason contextually for this, right? For what's happening. That I feel like he's even as someone that hasn't only briefly understands the game, right? Like I know a little bit about it because I looked into it once, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even me as a layman, I can pick up that he's leaving context out, right? Like there is some context missing here, where he's not he's presenting this as if it's like, oh, it's just he is in another world, assuming, or whatever, or he's in a fantasy world and he is collecting this harem like it's Pokemon or whatever, and he's completely missing the fact that is quite literally the context of the game. It's not like he's like an isekai where he just randomly just seems to accue bitches over time, right? You know, like just kind of they just kind of fall on his dick. Right, like in conception, that is literally the point. You are meant to go out and find those bitches, right? That is the point of the game, and he's leaving that out. That's annoyed the fuck out of me.
It's still kind of expected, though.
I know.
Expected for this video, I mean.
But anyway, it's
chance for this guy to have personality. The story won't let him have one, because that would get in the way of the story selling itself to horny teenagers as they use him as a way to pretend to get laid. This leads to this massive writing problem where even if the writer is talented and can make something good, servicing the fans is the main point. So no action they take can be anything other than what you'd expect, leaving them basic and doing the bare minimum, and leaving us wondering what the...
These are some fucking generalizations he's got going on.
Even
right?
let's say, all right, it's not the same because it isn't, because the roles are the function in the stories are different, but the friend character, the male friend character, is just as basic as is the same level as of basicness.
Yeah, you could talk about this in the context of Fujoshi type dating sim stories,
or just
instead of it being like the guy, it's the girl, right? And the girl has all of the male tropes. Like she's got the big, burly, rough around the edges. He's a bad boy. I could fix him, And then he's got it's the pretty prince who's noble and elegant, and he's got the sparkles around him, and he's so
and there's the sweet face, but secretly sadistic.
Yeah. There's also there's the neighbor childhood friend man who's always there for her and supporting her and her endeavors and
but then if she falls in love and
it's the same shit. But I guarantee you, he's never going to talk about any of that. He will not bring that up at all. It's all gonna be the same shit. I also take umbrage with the idea that just because it has quote unquote the fan service in it, right? That it has to be lesser, right, as a story. Like as if it having the fan service means you can't actually have a good story. This frustrates me because it's an anime tunnel vision perspective, because I've been reading a lot of stories, manga that are they're lewd, they have fan servicey type stuff in them, or they're just outright about sex, right? But they still have interesting kind of plot lines going on. And one of the ones I've been reading, actually, a little bit of a tangent, but I've been reading this one. I can't remember the bloody name of it, but it's basically all about this guy who's a director, right? Type guy. He's like the grandson of this, or the son of this really famous director or something.
Yeah, film directing
thing. Yeah, and he gets into this sort of thing where his focus becomes filming lewd kind of content or whatever, because that's just kind of sort of what he's into, but I'm leaving out a whole bunch of stuff. But the TLDR is like it sets up this kind of romance between him and this girl who wants to be filmed, right? And so they start to have this kind of exploration of all these different kind of themes around sexuality and that kind of stuff. And there's actually this kind of sort of really charming sort of teen love story going on in this, right? Where it's kind of like they both have feelings for each other, but they don't want to show it properly, and it's kind of melodramatic in a sense, but it's all kind of like centered around this like lewd topic of filming JAVs essentially, right?
All right, let's maybe for the mainstream example, Dress Up Darling, right? Let's use that.
That's got fan service on it.
So
is that bad because it's got fan service?
But it's not fan service because it's
no, because she's showing her boobies on the screen, Elliot. It's clearly fan service.
But is Mushoku Tensei fan service because you see Roxy's panties?
It's all fan service. Yeah, it is. It's all fan service.
Power fantasy service.
You don't understand. It's all I'm memeing because that's like this guy's perspective, right? That's what he would say, right? But I don't agree with that either because I feel like the modern day conceptualization of what fan service actually is completely fucked. Because back in my day, we were watching the fan service shows like the BXDs and the Freezings and the Queen's Blades and the things that had the boobies in them, and the boobies were there just for the sake of having the boobies, Modern day, so like that was what I was trying to get out with my example of that other manga, right? Where it's like, it's based around a lewd topic at its core, but it can still tell a very interesting and compelling story in spite of that, right? Well, maybe not in spite of that, but like it's possible to do it. Just because something has sexual elements in it doesn't necessarily make it, lesser, is what I'm trying to get at. It can still be competent in telling a actual story.
Yeah, I'm just kind of losing
I'm just
faith.
I'm rambling.
Losing faith in the video because there's just more and more mixing of things that are bad into one big pot.
15 minutes to go.
Maybe I should stop your ramblings.
Yeah, we gotta stop. I gotta stop going on my tangents.
The fuck do they see in him? This isn't anything new, but with how much anime is getting put out and how easy it is to watch, it's never felt more prominent. To Love Through is one of those easy examples I can point to. It's an anime that exists purely for fan service.
He's talking about more than ever right now, and his example is a 15, 10-year-old, somewhere in between anime.
I hate this. I fucking hate this because shit like To Love Ru doesn't get fucking made anymore.
I just think it's more that it's super old. 2008, 15 years ago.
15 years ago, about the amount of time we have left on this.
The anime that is 15 years ago is an example of how anime now
is a prime example how anime now is fucked. Yeah, totally. I fucking hate this shit. This fucking these people completely just ignore the current state of where anime's at. I want you to fucking look at the goddamn fucking anime chart, and I want you to tell me where there is a show like To Love Ru. All right? I want you to fucking point it to me because I want to watch it. Right? Show it to me. Like, there is no fucking show coming out in the year of our Lord 2022, right? That is anywhere near the level of ecchi of something like To Love Ru, right? At all. Because that shit just doesn't get made anymore. And these people will act like it does. And that infuriates me as someone that likes this kind of shit, right? Where they're like, oh, well, I mean, all the anime is just filled with fucking all fan service. Oh, it's in my Hero Acas and it triggers me. It's so fucking bad. Oh, why can't these people just go watch their fucking hentais or what? I fucking Oh, I hate it. This revisionist. It's not even revisionist history. It's like revisionist present. You know,
It's grabbing.
They're trying to gaslight me into being like there isn't a problem, right? Because there's a fucking problem, and it's that these shows don't get made anymore because they're not allowed to get made anymore because these same motherfuckers keep bitching about them, right? And I could go on another 20-minute rant about that, but I'm not going to because I want to get through this fucking video. Because it's making me actually mad now. I'm actually getting fucking genuinely pissed. I'm going to have to go get another drink in a minute.
Its main character, Rito, is just being a vehicle to get us to softcore porn. What started as a normal teenage boy crushing on a girl spiraled out of control immediately when a naked alien princess appeared in his bathtub and forces him to fake an engagement to keep her dad from marrying her off. Despite the fact that he's in love with someone else, he ultimately does fall for this alien girl who looks like a devil for some reason. And 20
She
other
doesn't
women.
look like a devil.
You heard me. Doesn't matter if it was his crush, her friends, her sisters, their teacher, or killer, her sister, their mother, just about every woman with a pulse is trying to ride his dick. It was a show designed for fan service, for kids, who hadn't figured out how to watch real porn yet. The character
no,
at the center of all
I'm gonna
this
do it.
being
I'm
the
not gonna do it.
character equivalent of cardboard. Rio's only characteristics are being nice, loyal to his friends, always so fucking kind, and rising to the occasion whenever it's time to do that kind of thing. Because he's what every teenager thinks he is, saying he respects women and gets mad when they're mistreated, but he's also constantly ripping and putting them in compromising positions, which is fine, because it's never really his fault. He's just cursed. So that makes it okay. Yeah, no. Dorito here doesn't really exist as a character. He is just here so that we can get titty and panty shots of women. He's a nice guy, and all the etchy stuff that happens is outside of his control, which is the mental dissonance the story needs to create so the audience of young men can enjoy guilt-free. Because if this was intentional, we would be telling a completely...
Are you fucking serious right now?
I don't really understand the
Are
argument.
you fucking... I don't either. I honestly... What? How did we get from fucking Talavru to redo of a healer? Are you fucking playing with me, you
What-
fucker?
Naretsu, what's his name? Kiru.
I don't fucking know.
I believed it was something Kiru something. I don't think he's kind of a self-insert blank face protagonist.
No, he is not. Well, he's trying to be like, oh well, if Talavru was different, it would end up like Redo. I'm like, in what fucking universe? In what? Like, I can't even begin to go over how fucking wrong this is. I can't even. Like, I gotta listen to this again. I gotta listen to this transition again. I have to. I can't.
exists as a character. He is just here so that we can get titty and panty shots of women. He's a nice guy, and all the etchy stuff that happens is outside of his control, which is the mental dissonance the story needs to create so the audience of young men can enjoy guilt-free. Because if this was intentional, we would be telling a completely different story.
Don't get it. I don't. It's just, I don't know.
I get what he's trying to say. It's just what he's trying to say is fucking stupid.
Yeah, that's my thing though. I don't understand what this argument is supposed to accomplish.
He's trying to like say that like, oh, if the contexts were different and whatever, the guy from fucking Talavru would be like the guy from Redo, and it's like, no. What do you mean by that? What are you on about? Like, what is this guy on? Like, seriously, I wish Lolly was here. I need Lolly to help me with this, please, God. Oh God, please save me from this hell. I am losing it. I am losing my goddamn mind at the sheer level of like me. people go on about media literacy a lot these days.
I don't think
But-
this guy is an example of it.
I am like redo was no, I can't even. It would take me like too long to even go into how wrong this is. So we gotta keep going.
Japan has a way lower bar for a lot of what we would consider adult content. Shows that we would rate as 13 plus are just regular kids fare, from blood and murder to how it handles sex. It's a different culture that I am not qualified to talk about. But the harem genre today has the same problems as To Love Ru had years ago. Self-insert media.
Monster Musume came out like fucking
3, 5.
It was after To Love Ru.
5 years.
It was it's not as old, but it's definitely like not recent. I wouldn't call that recent at all. I would say recent is like within the last 3 years. I reckon you could say recent is within like the last 3 years. So it's 2022 now, so you'd have from like 2019 through to 2022.
I would say Monster Musume, what I think is the title, is the kind of the edge of what is recent, kinda, maybe. Well, it kind of depends. Because there's this video wants to be talking about the grand history and complain about how recently things are bad. And it can't do both. You can't say that To Love Ru is an example of how anime is recently bad, but then say To Love Ru is old.
Is old, yeah, like, and leads, like, isn't it, is like the grandfather of why things are bad today. Yeah, it doesn't work like that, mate. Doesn't work like that. I just don't, like, this is hurting me as someone that likes ecchi, you know? Like, this is fucking killing my soul, right? This is killing my soul that this man is slandering my genre right now. He doesn't know anything about what he's talking about. Like, God, actually, thinking about it, like, Monster Musume was probably one of the last, like, proper ecchis to come out, actually. Because I know, like, the big dip in, like, the amount of ecchis that started coming out definitely started happening, like, around 2019-ish. Maybe 2018 at the latest, right? Like, I feel like I'd have to go back and research, but it's like I can't think of when was the last time we had something that wasn't like an OVA or like an outright, you know, hentai adaptation or something that was just an honest to God actual ecchi. And there's possibilities for them to come up, right? You know, later on. Because there's definitely sex related or shows that have that in it. Magical Girl, looking up to Magical Girls is a key example of that. When that gets fucking adapted, oh boy, you know I'm going to be watching the fuck out of that. But I mean, Redo is probably the closest we've got, Barrett. I don't know if I'd classify Redo as like an ecchi.
I would say Kill la Kill is kind of an example.
Kill la Kill's kind of an example too, yeah, but it's I don't know. It's not the same as like Monster Musume though, or High School DxD, or To Love Ru. Like, these are all that's like a whole separate genre of ecchi, right? Like, there's a difference between the Kill la Kill style of lewd and what they're doing.
I do believe we should end this tangent quite quickly, but Monster Musume is the same vein of ecchi as To Love Ru, and I remember that in the time of Monster Musume, people were lamenting the lack of ecchi shows, and Monster Musume is one of those very, very firmly. So they're just on the lower frequency, lower. They show up from time to time still.
Yeah, they do. No, I agree. Yeah, they do. It's just that there's definitely, we're no longer in that kind of, 2004, 5,
8
probably up until like 2008ish too. Yeah, like we're not there anymore, right? And it's and here's the thing, right? Like, I get that, and I've come to terms with that. Like, the grief, I've gone through the stages of grief for my genre, right? because I found like the alternative, which is to just read these kind of stories, right, from other sources, right? So I don't have to like worry about the animes not coming out, right?
There is a
but it's
funny.
like it's still
There's a funny evolution of sex on TV in anime, in TV anime, because you had Mushoku Tensei and Redo the Healer and a dungeon or labyrinth isekai.
It feels like now we see less and less shows that are deliberately made to be ecchi, and we're now just starting to see ecchi elements just kind of be incorporated into
people having actual sex. And it being important to the story.
Yeah, exactly. So, but anyway, let's keep going.
Is valid, but most of the shows that are harems feel less like stories and more like products. As with the main character being just whoever's reading it, they don't have to try and develop it. Instead, focusing on what brings in that real body pillow money. The girls. The concept of best girl has been around forever, but it was a
Why? Wait a minute. I thought this was a video about the everyman problem. Why are we talking about body pillows and best girl?
Because they are
what is
the capitalistic motivator for more everyman.
Dun, 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 dun. But no.
If you want less everyman anime, you should fight the capitalistic system. That
we need to socialize our wife.
Yeah,
share the wife.
Only then there will be less of the everyman.
Community assigned wife.
Only then your goth, GF, tomboy, ara, sundress wearing elf will be real.
Oh god.
Originally first used in 2009. It perfectly encapsulates the
Whoa, what? Best what? Did he just make an authoritative? We gotta go back there a little bit. Wait a minute.
Girls. The concept of best girl has been around forever, but it was allegedly first used in 2009.
The term. I don't care.
Allegedly. It was alleged.
It's kind of a
bro. People been talking about best girl since fucking Evangelion. What are you smoking? What are you smoking, my dude?
Nah, I mean,
what are you?
The dating. Whenever he's using the actual term when some
the actual term best girl was allegedly. Nah, fuck off.
The very first dating sims, the very first whatever.
Oh god.
The very first fighting character.
I didn't think this was gonna be this fucking infuriating. I thought we'd be like, okay, we'll do make fun of the isekai man not knowing about the isekais. I didn't know this was gonna be
Overlord came before Mushoku Tensei.
I didn't know this was gonna be my time to shine, my time to stand up as the fucking perv of the cast. I didn't know this was gonna happen. I have to do work now. Holy shit. Oh man, but
perfectly
anyway.
Encapsulates the fact that we don't give a fuck about the leading men of these shows. It's all about the girls.
Yeah.
The ones we vibe with the most.
So?
Who's the hottest? Who's the funnest? Who is appealing to your hyper-specific fetish? Harem anime took a horse race approach to romance. Instead of waiting to see how a couple ends up together, it's just pouring gasoline on the fandoms, letting them fight to the death over who they want to see in his or more.
That is kind of a scuffed recording.
No, he did that deliberately because he said hoof, and the horse girl was on screen.
Oh.
See, I caught that. I caught that. I'll give him that. That was pretty good. I'll give him that one. That one was alright. But anyway.
Accurately their pants. All while selling merch made with less standards than the characters.
Oh, it is Monster Musume.
Why write a compelling story about 3 childhood friends finding love when you can create 6 palette swaps and double your money? Why even bother?
Can you tell what show he likes? Because he brought up Nisekoi. Koi, yeah. He's brought that up a few times.
After the fish.
Seemingly positive light. Yeah, after the yeah. I wonder. I wonder if that's a show that he likes. Yeah, I wonder.
They're giving him a face when you can just leave it a blank, except for the one time, just to make sure he's not an ugly bastard. Harems are just that one genre that use the everyman / self-insert thing way too hard. And it just...
Yeah, because that's the that's the point, though. Again, like, he's talking about, like, all of these very distinct things and acting like they're all the same, right? Like, yes, the harem anime has a self-insert everyman, type of thing, because all of the stuff he's talking about is stuff that I don't even disagree with, because that's the intended purpose. That is the point. So you're literally just knocking on something for being what it is. There's no okay, if you don't like it, that's fine, but it's it would be like me going off about fucking, I don't know, a battle shonen for being a battle shonen and having fights in it. That progress the plot. Man, they have to fight to progress the plot. That's gay. That's what this sounds like to me. He's just doing that, but he's being like, oh man, the harem show with all the cute girls that makes you that you're supposed to find attractive or whatever, and the story is about the inter-character relationships between all of these different girls and the main guy and whatnot. That's and you're supposed to self-insert into that because that's part of the fantasy of it. Like, oh, that's so bland and bad and whatever. Feng shui. Feng shui. Calm down. Let's be calm.
And it just does not care if it's a scam. There are good ones out there, but
okay.
It's a cash grab. But one done so successfully, pretty much everyone just started doing it. Even if the main character has a girlfriend, he's gonna have a harem, especially if he has a girlfriend. The most damning thing of all of this, though, is how, as a genre, these shows are giving unrealistic expectations of relationships.
Is the genre?
Again, like, what were we bitch? Was he supposed to be going off about, like, the everymans and whatnot, and he's trying to use this as an example of that? But again, he's taking something that's literally designed to be that, and then trying to be like, look, every other time that happens is bad because these are bad. Except for the ones that I like, though. Those are okay. Oh, God.
It's not ruining a generation, but it's definitely not helping. As the no bones of...
Also, he stop being a fucking pussy. Stop doing this whole, it's not ruining a generation. No, stop. You were literally just like, oh, these are giving young men or whatever an unrealistic expectation of relationships or whatever, right? And then you fucking walk that shit back, right? Because people are going to be mad at you if you make a definitive statement like that. He has to walk that back and not stand by it. It's like, no, you fucking stand by your opinion on that, you fucking wuss. It's giving men unfucking realistic expectations, but it's not destroying society, I guess, maybe, like he's like one step away from becoming goddamn a trad calf who's going off about bloody female abs, right? He's a few degrees away. He's getting there. He's almost there. He's too afraid to step over that line.
Approach to the genre, with its focus on mass marketing waifus on the blandest men alive. The only real way these shows can sell the idea of this kid's a sex symbol is either A, some bullshit about him being innately special, making him desirable almost in spite of his everything, or B, the women have no standards. Which is just my mean way of saying that these dudes will try their hardest to say one nice thing once and not be rapists. Literally, that's it. You could honestly rename these shows to Why My Trauma Made Me Pick Him, and it would still be just as accurate. One of the gems of my childhood was Nisekoi, which was...
Hey, he did like it.
I
was doubting you for a moment because he showed them and said bad things.
I knew it was coming. I knew it. I knew it was coming. I've never watched this show, so I can't comment on its quality or whatever.
I read the manga when it first came out, in the first 10, 20 chapters.
All right, well, you know more about it than me, so let's see what he has to say
about a normal teen who just happened to be the heir to a Yakuza family. Then a new gang moved into town, and suddenly he has to fake date a tsundere to prevent a turf war. Hijinks and women followed, with one particular love interest being the bodyguard assassin who was sent to investigate/kill him. But they end up falling in love with him instead after he told her she was pretty after spending the whole episode dressed as a boy, which she has a complex about because her parental figure raised her without realizing she was a girl, making this one sentence validating, and now she's in love. Ignoring the logistics of her mentor never realizing his son was a daughter, the series is asking you to believe that Tsugumi was able to go through her entire life without getting catcalled once.
I don't understand this part. I suppose it is. I suppose this part is to show that you can have this harem kind of setup where the older girls love the main character for kind of valid reasons. But that's this has big.
Ellie, this is literally it's okay when I do it.
Yes, that's where I was going. This has big energies of it's fine when I like it though. Because, Subaru, our favorite protagonist, Subaru from ReZero.
He's so bland. It's bad because he's bland. He's every man.
Because, Subaru said some nice things to Ren, liking her despite the only stuff.
The funniest thing about this entire thing is the tweet that I saw about this, right? Was not even talking about any of this because they just saw the thumbnail and assumed that it was talking about the male power fantasy kind of element, and he's kind of gotten into that. But 90% of this has just been about fucking itchy and harem shows. Like, what? It's funny to me how, like, the assumption of what the video was going to be versus what it actually is so wildly different. But like this point that he's making now, it's like fucking what? She didn't get catcalled once. Like that's some male feminist shit. This guy's giving me some fucking red flags.
Or just some downtown American guy because
he's definitely Californian. Definitely Californian. If he's like, oh, why didn't she get catcalled her? And it's like, fuck off.
Or ever again after it was out of the bag. That no one ever approached her organically and just said like, hi, would you like to go out? Which are some numbers that just don't add up, and if you don't believe me, ask any of the women in your life. This is a situation
we don't all live in the America.
What does this have to do? What does this have to do with literally, or even in America, that shit's all hyped up by fucking feminist bullshit. But fucking, what does this have to do with bland anime protagonists being bad? What does this literally have to do with anything? Where is he going with this? Come on, get to the point.
Trying to isolate her so that this one throwaway compliment can change the trajectory of her life, causing her to obsess. With there not being a single guy in his classroom who would even try to ask her out, because she's just here for the main character and no one else. This is pretty much the best mid-case scenario for a lot of these harem stories, operating in a world that has to make it so that these girls will fall in love with a guy who is doing next to no effort, making it come off as almost incidental, as if he was actively pursuing her. It would isolate all the other merchandise the show is trying to sell, or end up like School Days. These stories exist in a universe where all the men are either non-existent or terrible.
Yeah, it's fantasy. What do you want? what do you?
I don't really understand. I'm repeating this phrase more and more.
You don't understand because I understand. You don't.
I want a coherent argument, and I'm not getting it.
Well, you are. The argument that you're getting is right now, at least. This is bad because it's a fantasy, quote unquote. It's not realistic. Like he does know that there are like realistic style romance animes out there, right? That you can watch that are not ecchis or harems, right? Like there are shows that have the romances in them, and they do the romance thing, and it's just like the one guy and the one girl, and there might be rivals here and there, but it's mostly about the relationship. Like Snow White with the red hair comes to mind. I quite like that one. That one's quite good.
Dress Up Darling.
So yeah,
They're based.
Dress Up Darling. Yeah, it's like, yeah, there might be like some, again, like there might be rivals that show up, but it's not like it's haremish.
Not the point of the show. It's not the story that's being told.
Yeah, it's like there's plenty of counter examples to his examples that he's bringing up, which disproves his point that all anime seems to have this problem, right? And so it just seems like now he's like just going off about random bullshit that's triggering the shit out of me, because I understand the red flags that are going on that Ellie is not picking up on.
Well, I mean, it's not that I'm not picking up on it. I'm just flat out ignoring them and say, all right, what do you actually want saying with this? And then nothing comes up. It's just this vague insinuation of flaggings, and then I go, all right, tell me, and then nothing.
Yeah, what's the actual point? Like, we're past halfway now, so what's...
All to explain why this situation is happening, where this guy puts in no effort, makes no real decisions, can be indecisive for the entire story, without the girls moving on to someone they might have actual chemistry with. Some stories can thread this needle, while others, it comes off as the main guy is just entitled to sex, ignoring the actual effort it takes to build a relationship, replacing it instead with horny devotion for just existing. It's incel mentality, but at least they're not slaves.
See,
I'm gonna have a fucking aneurysm. His mask, you know, he's got two masks as his avatar. I think the masks are slipping. His masks, he's letting his mask slip a little bit here. He's kind of playing his cards a little bit with the fucking shit. I'm starting to get a clearer picture of what kind of fucking dude this is that we're dealing with. But anyway, again, Ellie's just gonna say he doesn't understand because he hasn't actually made a cohesive fucking point yet. But
I'm still waiting on the argument.
Oh yeah, this is that recent one. I have to like, this was one of the ones I've got on my back burner list, because apparently this is like the dude just flat out just buys a fucking slave. He like, I think the context is like, he is like, hey, how much is that slave? And the guy's like 20 grand or something, and he's like, shit, I don't have 20 grand. And the guy's like, all right, I'll give it to you for 20 grand, but you have to buy her in like 7 days or like a week or like a fortnight or something. And so like the first part of the show is him just like working his ass off to buy this slave doggo girl or some shit. I don't know if it's this one or it might be another one, but it was like, I've been hearing about this isekai that does that, and she like just flat out, like, you know, becomes a sex slave, and they actually have sex in the show. So maybe maybe that's where all of my itchies have been going. They've been going into shit like that.
Yeah,
right?
and that's what I said, right?
And I gotta start broadening my horizons. I gotta start watching more of these isekais so that I can get my itchy fix, right?
Stories where people have sex instead of etchy. As I said, that's the evolution.
Yeah. I gotta get my ass onto these isekais, my dude.
Alright, let's talk about isekais.
Yeah.
Like he hasn't already.
Let's fucking... Oh, God.
Fuck him. I know.
Fuck.
Well, too bad, because you already spent over 10 minutes talking about them.
I went to college, genre took over the world, but why? Why was this the thing that became the de facto king of the industry outside of Shonen Jump?
Oh, well, maybe if you fucking did some fucking research.
Well, as you see, when publishers were experiencing kind of a slump in light novel sales.
Oh no! Here we go. We're gonna get the same as. Let's not, because everyone that like we've gone over this so many fucking times. It's like we shouldn't have to, you know. Oh, I hate it. I hate it.
People hate, money. People hate risk, so they pick popular thing and then go, "Oh, this is popular," popular makes popular.
They use website. Yeah, they use website to see what thing be popular. We talked about it fucking like an hour ago.
Yeah.
Right? We talked about it like ages ago. We were talking about like Shosetsu and whatnot, where it's like, they look at what is popular on the website. They go, ooh, that looks good. We'll pick that up and then we'll publish that as light novel. And then light novel sells or doesn't sell. Light novel sells. Oh, we'll make anime to make it sell more, to make more money. Right? Like that is like the pipeline. We haven't we talk about like the anime to alt-right pipeline. This is the little website where you post your stories online to big anime isekai boom pipeline.
Yeah.
Right? This is how the TLDR version of what we've talked about a million times, right? And this guy clearly doesn't fucking know anything about it because he's fucking tunnel vision to shit. And has probably never fucking actually looked into the thing that he, the anime thing at all, right? And that would be fine, right? If he wasn't trying to act as an authoritative voice and trying to be like, look, man, I got 2 million views on my video, and I'm gonna talk about the animes and spread bullshit because I'm a big YouTuber who does the big things, right? Yeah, that's where my hang up is here, right? And why I fucking hate this shit.
Totally happening! This must be an event pop where I'll learn to produce magic! Ha!
Oh yeah, that's right. It's just us. Fish out of water stories are great. They do require some actual thought. Harry Potter has to explain why muggles don't know about magic. Percy Jackson has a whole phenomena about why people can't see it's crazy. Why try where you can just kill your 14 to 17-year-old straight male and put them in an entirely new generic world? Like, I get it. It's a very easy sell to audiences. And being the overpowered hero seems great. But after the third time, I really can't be bothered.
Just don't watch them then.
He has to, though.
Resolved.
Everything that every new anime is compelled by a curse.
He has to watch every single isekai that comes out.
He become an isekai protagonist. It's his curse.
Oh no!
So many of them follow the same basic story beats. Man shows up, screams for 2 minutes, finds out he's the special, collects the first 2 haremettes, and shenanigans for the rest of the story. The protagonists here can be pretty bland, and I want to say they're better than the harem genre, but for as fucked up as the harems are, isekais just feel like they're just trying to outdo themselves.
Ridu's not a fucking isekai.
No.
It's a dense motherfucker.
Gochigosaki.
I don't want to scream. I don't want to scream.
Who can make the craziest shit? Who can push the boundary the most? Which has led to some...
Okay. One. You give me this one. So Ridu, the reason Ridu exists, and the author has said this, right? He did an interview with the Anime Man, right? He did an interview with the Anime Man where he was asked, okay, so why did you make Ridu a healer? And he flat out says, I was noticing a trend on the shousetsus, I don't actually remember from shousetsu, but he said, I noticed the trends, right? I looked at the trends, right? And people were doing the revenge stories, right? And everyone was doing the violent revenge stories. So I was like, hey, what if I did that, but I added sex to it? What if I did the sex revenge story, right? And so he did it as an experiment, right? He kind of did it as just kind of a thing that he whipped together and he put it out there, and then it became insanely fucking popular. And he was like, that's kind of neat. I made a popular thing, so let's keep going with it. And it's led to some issues because honestly, I feel like redo has been going on. Like I've been keeping up with the manga, and it does feel like it's kind of going on a little longer past its due date. I feel like it probably should have ended a while ago, but he's just kind of having to keep it going, right? And it kind of shows in the writing and where the story is going with it, because it's just like, oh well, now he's got to go up against this thing and this thing and this thing, right? So I feel like Redo is just such a bad fucking example for him to use here. Because if you look into the history of it, it's like, yeah, no, it was literally just an experiment from the author. He was like, hey, can I make something that's got the violence and also the sexy in it?
To the best of my knowledge, the guy who wrote Sex and Dungeon wrote like 10 other stories, and Sex and Dungeon was the one that got popular, so he continued that story. Just write 20 stories at the same time and continue whatever the one is popular.
Yeah, it's like, fuck, dude. Just fucking...
Interesting trends becoming popular. From what if the main hero was a villain to...
That's not a popular trend. What if the main character is a villain? How many isekais have that? 2, I guess.
I guess.
And we have Overlord.
And even then, Overlord is about a bit more than that, but okay.
Overlord, okay. So, what if protagonist is bad guy? Overlord's alright, that's fine.
Yeah, we can give him that, even if it's a
Then you have Healer. He's kind of a bad guy.
Yeah, but that's not an isekai, though.
Yeah. But any others, right? Is Drifters that kind of deal? They help too many people. They free the dwarves from slavery. That's not that.
They might be a little bit crazy, but they're not evil.
No, they're conquering entire nations, but they free people from slavery at the same time.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, it's different. Yeah. I guess Slime is the villain in that.
Yeah, I mean the cultural imperialism, forcing his Japanese standards.
Yeah. I'm fucking around.
I can go off on that.
I know you're not. I know you're not, but I am. I what else is he gonna say? Because I know he's gonna say another one.
What if a hero was a librarian?
What if a hero is these?
What if my protagonist
in a dungeon? To what if I picked up girls at an auction? I get breaking.
Auction.
What if I picked? Okay, that was good. I like.
Well, it's a
some of his jokes are pretty good.
Yeah, it's a good joke, but show at least Ratalia from Shield Hero or something.
Yeah, that would have been a good example.
She's from.
Odd that he hasn't brought up Shield Hero at all. Yeah,
because that one was from How to Not Summon a Demon Lord, where the slavery spell just got reversed on the summoners. So our demon lord who got summoned to be a slave actually
enslaved
the summoners.
Yeah, he didn't pick them up at an auction. Yeah, so that's a bad example. But anyway,
taboos are hot. It's just fiction. I get all that. But really, how did a slave-owning protagonist become a mainstream thing?
People like that shit. I don't fucking know, dude. Bro, dude, do you have any fucking idea how this motherfucker is going to tell me that he's shocked that slavery and dominant submissive relationships in media is this revolutionary thing, and he's shocked why it's so popular? Dude, have you even seen 50 Shades of Grey? Right? Do you even understand human sexuality at all?
There's an interesting argument being made that slavery in isekai or naro, as these stories actually are, is more prevalent because they emulate the RPG party more than actual friendship.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I've heard that argument before, either from you or from maybe Joe.
Yeah, it's from Joe, but
someone said it.
yeah,
Someone said it in the past. Yeah, and I can kind of get that, where it's like there. Yeah, it emulates the party system and how that like works on a mechanic level. And because obviously you can't have that sort of like in a semi-realistic setting where like the game is not a game, right? You can't just like force people to join your party or whatever. You have to have some kind of binding agent, right? So I guess slavery is that binding agent. But even then, it's like, what? Like, this man is shocked that stories that have that slavery element are popular, right? And here's the thing: like, I can only think of like. So this show here, right, has the slavery element in it, right? Shield Hero has the slavery element in it. I guess how not to summon a Demon Lord kind of counts because of the way that worked, as you just explained it, right? So you could say that counts. I think there's probably more that I'm blanking on. I mean, I could make the meme about slime again, but I'm not going to.
Well, I can. I would kind of count it towards only half a point. Only half a point.
All right, but like, so I like when I'm thinking about like shows that are like not necessarily slavery is just a part of the world, because there's plenty of that, right? Like, I think what was it, that skeleton one that came out recently. Had like he's actually trying to like stop the slavery. I think, from what I recall, I haven't actually looked into it. I've just heard about it.
From what to the small tangent, from what I heard about, is that the guy in the Skeleton Knight Man Isekai is the one Isekai with the one protagonist that doesn't do the slime, in which he presents his own culture as the superior one and the rest are barbarians. And 2, isn't even trying to pick up girls because he's a skeleton and the secret gets out. And he doesn't also engage with the bad parts or the things that he finds bad. So he doesn't partake in the slavery system like Shield Hero does, because even though the Shield Hero felt compelled to, and he was kind of an edgelord at the time, Skeleton Knight doesn't feel compelled to and doesn't really want to deal with all that stuff. But he also doesn't do a slime where he builds a Japanese town and says, "Now you all shall live as Japanese, for that is the best culture."
Right. I get what you're saying. So, like, what my point I'm trying to get at here is, like, I think that slavery is like a theme or a thing in a lot of these things. Probably partly because fucking goddamn, like probably part of that is that slavery is considered kind of a part of fantasy settings.
Oh yeah,
a lot of the time.
You have in the future, cyberpunk future or not, corporate slavery, indentured servitude in the cyberpunks.
It just kind of likes to crop up wherever it's
your clones, and your clone is now a property of the company, etc. That's
you get the barcode tattooed on your ass. Yeah. But like, it's
your
see my issue. I want to get off this tangent, right? I want to get off this tangent, but I kind of want to like. My issue here is that he's presenting this as a bad thing. Question. See, this is actually kind of my problem with the whole video. Is he like is kind of half-assing it. I kind of hinted at it before when I was calling him a fucking wuss and a pussy. But he's making these statements, and then he's being very wishy-washy. He's like, oh, it's kind of bad that there's the slavery, but it's still fantasy though, and it's not like, like he's not like taking a hardline stance one way or the other. He's being a bit of an enlightened centrist, but it's very clear if you read between the lines where his like actual stance is. And I hate when people kind of do that, because I'd rather be like upfront and be like, yeah, no, fuck it, I like slavery, it's based as fuck. you know, or like, nah, fuck slavery, it's bad, because then at least I know where you stand, right? You're not being all kind of like, oh well, I mean, yeah, it's bad, but it's good, but it's fantasy.
But sometimes I like how it's done, so it's not a whole band.
It's kind of, yeah. But anyway, let's see what he has to say, because I'm interested.
Amazing! But this is not a good look. If anyone were to walk in right now, I'd be sudden social death!
Power fantasies. Yeah, of course. Like, this whole slave thing is a video all on its own. But isekais...
Oh yeah, please make that video. I want to fucking cover that shit. Oh yeah.
I'm not entirely convinced by the slave is an equivalent to party mechanics, though.
I don't know. I think that, I honestly, I think it's just more because of the fantasy setting, and they're adding it because of that, and also probably because it gets them horny.
And like, it's an easy,
to be perfectly honest,
an easy way to compel them to stay. But they're more they're just as easy story reasons to compel them to stay. The cost.
Oh, I mean, like the alternative can be. I believe I was. What's the one I was reading? It's an isekai. It's an ichi isekai, which is the guy who has the swords.
Mm-hmm.
He talks to swords.
Don't know it.
So all of his swords are okay. So the guy is like from a family of swordsmen or some shit, right? In Japan, right? And he's like an otaku for swords.
Yeah.
Right? He fucking loves, he has all this big collection of swords. He loves his katanas and his muramasas and whatnot. And he knows them all by name and all the history behind them. And so I can't recall I think he gets killed in an attempted robbery or something. He gets like stabbed. And that's what isekais him. And he gets isekai'd into this world where he has a couple of his swords with him.
Oh, neat.
And so because he had them on him because he was trying to defend his house from the robbers or some shit, right? So he got isekai'd with the swords, and his whole skill set is based around the swords, and the swords are like his harem, right? In a sense, because they become sentient and they take human form, and one of them is the big milf mommy Oni-san, and the other one is like a lolly ninja. And then another one is like, like they're all different tribes, right? And that's fine, right? But I'm trying to get to the actual point where like he meets a member of the world he's been isekai'd to, right? And supposedly the entire world is like run off like contracts, right? Or something. So people make contracts with one another, and it's sort of a slavery kind of mechanic in a sense, because it's like, oh, if you get put into this contract, and there's stipulations about the contract that you have to fulfill to be free from the contract, and all of this other nonsense. But there's benefits and it's complicated, right? But so the way that he gains this party member, quote unquote, right? Because she is a party member. Let's use the terminology. Is that he essentially saves her from getting killed in a robbery. Because he shows up at, like, her wagon's been, like, all the other members of her party have been killed, or the people that she had a contract with have been killed, or something like that, and she's the only one of the only ones left, and they're about to do the bloody, the big R word to the girl, right? It's typical. He jumps in with his sword and cuts their heads off or whatever and saves the day, and she goes, wow, that's fucking badass. You saved my life. Holy shit, I want to hang out with you. You're cool. Let's make a contract or whatever, And that it goes from there, right? So that's like an alternative way you could go about it, even without like the contract stuff, right? You could just be like, hey, one of the first people that he meets is someone who's in trouble, and he like does a thing that saves the girl or the guy or whatever party member, like shit. Just copy what fucking normal party member shit happens, like, oh, you meet the guy and he's cool. You do a favor.
My example would be
like,
just a Goblin Slayer, right? They all stick around for the reason because goblins are bad, so we should kill them, and nobody else does it.
Well, yeah, and then there's also the guild too. So like party members are a dime a dozen. You can just hire whatever. So yeah, no, yeah. So yeah, I can agree with like I feel like the whole slavery as a party mechanic thing is a bit if. I think it's more likely just either like fetish fuel, which is fine, I don't care, or it's just, hey, slavery is typically a thing in these fantasy worlds. How can I incorporate that into the story in some way and have the main character actually interact with that outside of just, walking past a slave market and, whatever, like in a way that's actually engaging, right? And like I said, there's no problem with that. I don't have a problem with that. Whatever. If you want to have slavery in your story, more power to you. That's great. Good on you. Whatever makes your dick hard. But anyway,
are the genre that the everyman self-insert problem metastatized and spread to the rest of the industry. As Japan is going through the...
Really? Yeah, really? Like, again, this comes back to the whole, like, okay, how many isekais are actually coming out? What is the actual percentages?
This is also just another anime-only limited perspective, not looking at the history, because if he's saying that isekais did slaves and then Redo of a Hero did slaves, then you haven't paid attention. You haven't been paying attention, guy. It's from the same site.
And how lots of fucking stories, isekai or not, deal with, like, fantasy stories in general deal with slavery too. So it's not like it's limited to isekai. And hell, there's plenty of examples of, slavery.
I recall
a
ancient ass manga, Red River, and I believe it's a shoujo, and I believe our main protagonist girl starts out as a slave, gets bought by the Prince of Egypt, and then the Prince of Egypt falls in love with
the slave,
scandal, etc., etc., and then something like that.
Something like that. But anyway,
equivalent of the YA adaptation craze of the early 10s that Hunger Games pretty much kicked off and then killed. Hate it as much as you want, but Sword Art Online did numbers, and this anime adaptation of a light novel showed just how successful.
Holy shit, he's saying something factually correct.
I do.
14 minutes into the video. Finally.
I'm still missing out this historical awareness of that it's actually a web novel.
Look, Ellie, we gotta take what we can fucking
It's
get.
kind of scraps, though. It's Wikipedia reading at most.
Yeah, but he's at least acknowledging, like, the kickoff of the trend. Okay, like we got like I said, we gotta take what we can get.
Successful these paperback gold mines could be, resulting in the oversaturated market we have today and gotta deal with. What makes the Everman so toxic to the isekai genre is that these shows should be interesting. I'm not beating my head against the wall for why this man doesn't just pick his woman and go. Yet despite having all the freedom in the world to craft a unique story where anything is possible, the genre has homogenized into being roughly the same world every fucking time.
Yeah, that's a classic meme image. Yeah, the classic, they all do the circular.
But it's free time of the same show, pretending it's different shows.
Some shows actually utilize their premise. Shoko Tensei builds an actual new world for its setting with multiple languages and cultures for the people that inhabit it. Rudis is a 34-year-old Japanese man who died and got reincarnated. With him experiencing what's like to not grow up to be.
I'm experiencing some skippings. I don't know if you have it.
just gonna fucking ignore a lot of the context there a little bit. It's just gonna, but anyway.
To not grow up to be a pedophile.
Too bad though. He's kind of forced into it as soon as he was born.
That fucking grin. I don't know if it's paused on the same spot for you, but that's fucking perfect. See, this guy does have good comedic shit. I'm not gonna lie. Like he's made me laugh like 3 times here. Like not in like a mocking way. Like he's actually, that was pretty good. I'll give him that. I'll give him that, and the other ones too. That was all right. This guy's not 100% irredeemable, right? Like, fuck. Oh man.
He jacked off to his 10-year-old niece taking a bath in the web novel.
Hey!
Well, I'm not really accrediting
Allegedly.
I'm not really accrediting though this because it's just it's kind of an edgy fact more than a historical awareness.
Well, yeah. Oh, yeah, I'm not giving him credit for that. I just think it's like, hey, holy shit, someone actually knows about that, you know? Because we've had so many people that have shown up that don't know about that, right? So it's kind of like, wow, okay. But also, I love the allegedly up in the top corner. Allegedly.
It's not canon anymore, but still. There's an actual arc for Udis here. The story is in large part about him overcoming the worst tendencies he developed in his first life. He learns and grows. It's using the genre effectively. Compare that to other shows where they don't even try. People just get dropped into a different world and just immediately start pretending to follow the plot. They immediately become overpowered. They get everything they could ever want with as little effort as possible. You can do this and make it a parody and have fun. But for so many shows to play
and what
this
about
straight.
Overlord? Is that fun? Does it have to be a parody?
Yeah, because I've noticed that he always brings up like the same few examples as well. Like it's always this show that's on screen right now, or the other show. Like it's always like very specifically those examples.
If he's going to criticize that isekai is a plague upon the anime, then he should have more than 3, because if every year there's like 5.
You would think he would have like a shit ton of footage he could use, but he's only using clips from like fucking 3 different shows. Specifically when he's talking about like the negative stuff, like right now, like like I've seen the same fucking pair of chicks like so much in this video, you know? Like, come on, dude.
Also, he said he wouldn't talk about isekai, and yet here he is.
Boring is in large part to the main characters, because they're not just some guy like us. They're just us. Isekai has become so popular that everyone knows about it. Even Disney shows are referencing it. And it does make sense that newer isekais will have a protagonist that would know what an isekai is. So they don't have to explain what the world is like or even have a real reaction to being here. These shows feel so increasingly like they're cannibalizing themselves. Look, I hate the first episode exposition dump that has to explain everything that the OP already spoiled, but it's important to set everything up, to make it feel organic, to help.
I don't really...
That does happen though, and doesn't that happen in Shield Hero? Like, don't they? Isn't that like the whole first part of it is the setup, and like the world, and shit, and like what? What is he talking about?
I'm wondering though, because he's complaining that isekai is an established thing, so you don't have to explain it anymore. Is that bad? Is it good?
Yeah.
And show us why this character, this place, is different from its competitors. To have the creative choices it makes matter. Instead, what we have is stories that feel increasingly insular in their inspirations. Anime that only references other anime, copying what they like without understanding why it works.
Ragnarok was pretty early though.
Yeah, again, well, I mean, come on.
Or is it Death March? I don't really care.
I don't fucking know.
Punching bag of the anime community for years, and deservedly so in some regard, but it was still able to tell a captivating story in its first season. Kirito may be the progenitor of the modern overpowered protagonist, but that status was earned from him being a beta tester, giving him a head start over everyone else in the game. He would go on to just become a genius superhuman, better than everyone else, but that was later. In isolation, the angst and struggles he goes through feels real.
Naruto, is being gifted by the goddess not a reason, an explanation?
I don't fucking know anymore, dude. I honestly don't even know what to say. I'm at your point where it's like I don't even know what he's going on about at this point. Like he's just fucking like saying shit Like now he's going on about how, well, I mean, in Isekai it was fine because Isekai, I mean, not Isekai, in Sword Art Online it was fine because Sword Art Online it did it this way, and I liked it when it did it this way in the first season, but then it became just bad at these other shows. It's like, just fucking shut up.
While its copycats are just doing the overpowered and the struggles without understanding why these scenes hit so hard. The genre feels like it's cannibalizing itself, constantly ripping what it thinks other people like while providing the most bare minimum way to differentiate itself from everything else.
Would he say that
self-insert stories are
smartphone isekai is ripping off, is doing this more than Shield Hero, which came later? This is kind of the problem with broad stroking isekai, is saying that smartphone isekai is doing the bad thing, Ragnarok is doing the bad thing because they only reference it themselves, but not Shield Hero though. But Shield Hero didn't do that. But Shield Hero came later.
And what is he even meaning about like referencing themselves? Is it like, oh, they just have the same, like, oh, they're all isekais? So
The thing,
like,
I kind of feel it's like the thing of I didn't like it, so it's the bad thing, and the show that I felt or good did another thing.
Yeah.
If Pokemon started today, you know it would start with Ash getting sent to another world rather than waking up in his own.
I don't know about that. I don't know about that. That's kind of if. I'm not sure about that one, Chief.
That joy, like you have all the experiences you want to have, is still valid. Anime, though, feels like more and more of it is
He's saying more and more. Oh, I'm skipping.
Yeah, wait a minute. I'm skipping. I want to listen to
You know it would start with Ash getting sent to another world rather than waking up in his own. But that joy in watching someone like you have all the experiences you want to have is still valid. Anime, though, feels like more and more of it is transparently just trying to sell to its audience.
So he's using Tula Vru,
bad.
50-year-old show.
Hang on. Wait a minute. I think I can decipher this a little bit, right? His problem is that they're trying to sell you something.
I believe his problem is capitalism.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting from this right now. He's like, oh, the show is trying to sell you on a product. But my question is what product is he talking about? Because is he talking about the product as in the anime itself to buy the DVDs and the merchandise and all that shit? Because pretty much every fucking anime is that, right? You can't... come on now. That's ridiculous. Or is it like, oh, is it selling you the idea of the fantasy? But then he just said that, oh no, but you enjoying that is valid and that's fine. So then what's the problem if it's trying to sell you that fantasy, right? Like the logic kind of loops back around on itself a little bit here, right? Because he's not really making a definitive stance on where he's not putting his stick in the sand and going, right, I think this is bad because X, Y, and Z, and that makes it bad, right? He's kind of like doing this weird looping logic type thing where it's like, oh, I'm going to hint that this is bad vaguely because it's selling a product, but I'm not going to explain what that product is. It might be like the fantasy of it, but it's cool if you like it, though. I'm not trying to take it away from you. I'm not trying to take your sexy video games away. Kappa face, right? Like that's what I'm kind of getting from this. It's like it's almost like dog whistling in a way, right? Like he's trying to like signal something. And I'm like getting the bits and pieces of it, and it's triggering me.
My issue is,
but I don't have enough pieces of the puzzle to put it all together. Is the problem?
Yeah, that's my problem. Kinda is that it's too vague. There's no central thesis. There's no argument. I mean, the thesis should be
he's rambling more than I am, which is bad.
The thesis should be every man's in anime is a problem for this reason, but then he mixes the reasons. He pulls different time periods together and says it was in the past, it's in the future.
This is the same as this. Yeah, this is the same
but
as
it's
this.
different in that way.
Different.
And
Yeah.
this show is the same in the history of 10 years ago.
This is bad, but it's also okay.
It's not an isekai,
This is good.
but it follows all the things in isekai, but it has no
Lots of
slavery.
things. It's a bit whack, yeah. But anyway, we're almost done. We're in the home stretch.
Giving a sense of importance and value without showing or even pretending that they work for it. Main characters are just rewarded for just existing, and those characters are supposed to be us. Like, it's weird to explain this to anime fans, like, especially myself, that some things just get normalized. You expect, like,
Oh, fuck off. Oh, no.
I think he means popular.
Really?
He should.
Really?
I believe he.
I don't know about that, mate. I don't know. At this point, I'm fully expecting him to he's about to go into normalization theory
Well,
bullshit.
mate, but
Let's wait. He's got 2 minutes left. Let's see what he does.
okay, yeah, they told you there's gonna be a harem. There's always a harem. But there's no real point to it. After a while, it's just there because it's expected. And then it'll just like become the focus and become a waste of time. Maybe it's a matter of personal taste, but for me, so much of
See, he's not. He's doing it again. He's looping it back around. He's like, oh, well, I mean, some things get normalized. And then they become like, just normal, and everyone kind of expects them, and then it just becomes wasting time. But, it's fine. If it's fucking fine, then what are you bitching about? What are you bitching about if it's fine, dude? What's the actual problem? And have harems been normalized? Like, what are you... Again, like in modern era, like when was the last fucking actual honest to Christ harem show that came out? Like Redo, maybe? Like that? Like what is he?
No, there's been more. I mean, it's kind of depends.
Probably, I don't even know. I'm just fucking
It
done.
kind of depends how you define it, because even Call of the Night, right?
Yeah, I guess you could
Call
say
of the
that,
Night
but
had,
I have to watch more of that.
It was one girl, then there were two girls, and now there's plus 4 or
3.
5.
Apparently, there's like
5
5
extras.
Yeah,
So,
I have to.
now Ko.
I have to keep watching. I haven't.
So
I have to
Ko,
keep
the
watching.
protagonist of Call of the Night, suddenly has 7 girls that are interested in him.
Oh god, have you seen that meme? The guy, the kid with the 2 hot dogs. Geez, why does your mom let you have 7 bitches?
Because 5 of them want to kill him.
Yeah. There you go. So yeah, no, I'm so fucking done, dude. Like these things get normalized, and everyone's so that fuck, dude. This guy clearly doesn't know what anime Twitter's like right now. Like, it's super fucking anti fucking fan service. Super fuck, like that shit is far from normalized. Okay, like you've got like fucking a good chunk of people saying it's not okay, right? And I have to defend my fucking honor of my fucking itchy.
these
right?
shows feel like junk food. Fun at first, but consume too much and it makes me feel sick. The generic anime protagonist
Then
joke has
don't-
been around since as long as there have been anime. We started with Goku clones, but now it has moved on to
I'm having
What?
an issue. Maybe can you go back 5 seconds?
So much of these shows feel like junk food. Fun at first, but consume too much and it makes me feel sick. The generic anime protagonist joke has been around since as long as there have been anime. We started with Goku clones.
We started with Goku clones.
Okay. I mean, start at least with Kentaro. Kentaro, the Fist of the North Star. And then you had, JoJo, which was a copy of.
Yeah. JoJo was quite literally a clone of his, maybe not a clone, it's harsh, but it's that came out at around the time that Fist of the North Star was really, really popular, and it copied a lot of the things. But then eventually, over time, you know, it just sort of became its own kind of thing, right? My thing is, would you call like Luffy, Naruto, fucking they're Goku clones, Ellie?
I don't know.
How do you don't even have to
sorry,
know
I mean more
that
I'm thinking of other I'm thinking of Naruto clones. Who is a clone of Naruto? Which protagonist?
Who's a clone of Leafy? Who's a clone of it's Ichigo, right? From Bleach. It's been so long, I don't fucking remember. I think it's Ichigo. Like, fuck. What a claim! Like, man, the shonen fag. I gotta watch the slurs. The shonen homosexuals.
Black Star.
Fucking
Soul Eater.
Oh yeah. I guess
but that's kind of like somewhat deliberate clone.
Yeah, that's a bit. Yeah, but it's like, you know. This is such a weird claim to make that these three characters are clones of Goku. Like, let's look. Like, I think there's a lot of degrees of separation going on there.
Was that his argument though, that these are a clone of Goku?
No. Like, he literally said, like, we started with Goku clones, and then shows a picture
maybe
of these three.
In the next line, it's going to say something, and then others.
All right, let's listen.
Maybe it's a matter of personal taste, but for me, so much of these shows feel like junk food. Fun at first, but consume too much and it makes me feel sick. The generic anime protagonist joke has been around since as long as there have been anime. We started with Goku clones, but now it has moved on to parody of the very people.
Yeah, like that is his fucking
weird
point. Yeah, you see what I mean? Like, that's such a weird point. That is insane to say, oh, the big three, they're Goku clones. Like, what?
Isn't like Ippo from Hachimari no Ippo, you know, train.
Oh yeah, he's a Goku clone, dude. He's totally a Goku.
At least he has something, you know, training and fighting is his thing. That's not nerd.
But Ellie, Goku's training and fighting is Goku's thing as well. So he's totally a clone. This is the same character, you know. This is totally the same thing. Like, what the fuck, dude? What the fuck? I'm speechless, dude. Like, I don't fucking know what to say. I'm actually in shock by that. That is such a, like, insane take to say that they are and to just like drop that bombshell and quickly move into but isekais are like copies of, it's like, what the fuck?
How's that any different though? Because Goku is super shonen and then he's showing different shonen. Is that not an incestuous pile of you know, copying?
No, because it's like, no, because he's talking specifically, no, because he's not talking about like shonen tropes, right? Like, that's different. He's talking about the characters themselves, right? Like, personality-wise, character-wise, motivation-wise, like how they're developed,
that's
right?
Weird,
like, he's saying
because
that those three characters are cloned. Like, that's how I'm interpreting it, right? Like, when he says, we started with Goku clones and shows those three characters on the screen as his examples, presumably, of Goku clones. That tells me that that's what he's saying, and I think that's fucking lunacy to say that the big three are just Goku clones, right? You could say, okay, the story beats of, like, you know, they have the tournament arc, they have the you know, the big fights, they have the training, they have the, you know, like, you could say, yeah, they have, like, these series have the same DNA as Dragon Ball, right?
Yeah.
That's valid. That's fine. That's good. I'm fine with that because you could trace that lineage all the way back, just like you could trace the lineage of, like, Fist of the North Star to JoJo, to stuff that's influenced by JoJo, to, you know, like, that's fine, right? But when you're talking about specifically the protagonists and the characters, Luffy has like a completely different motivation, because Goku's motivation, from what I understand, I haven't watched Dragon Ball in a long, long time, but I believe the driving motivation for Goku is he likes to fight. He just likes fighting. He likes the thrill of it. He trains to fight a lot. He gets into fights with people, and he does the things, right? He does the big fights. That's what he likes to do. Luffy has an actual goal. He wants to find the One Piece. He's inspired by his
Father guy.
Well, not fathers, but role models is the word, right? He's inspired by his role models to be a pirate. He's not out to like save the world or just get into fights for the sake of fighting or anything like that. He's on a journey to find the One Piece, and along the way, he meets people and he does the stuff, right? Naruto, he wants to become the Hokage, and it's the story of how he becomes the
through
Hokage.
Various amounts of tournaments that are following rules.
Through various amounts of tournaments and wars and battles and storylines and stuff that happens between all of these characters together, right? Like, they're not the same personality-wise. Naruto is not fighting because he just loves fighting. Ichigo is not fighting because he just loves fighting, right? It is completely different characters, completely different personalities, completely different driving motivations.
Well, I suppose that in comparison, these Goku clones, in comparison, those Isekai clones look a little bit more like each other.
Maybe that was his point. I don't know. I just think he should have extrapolated on that a bit more, because that was like the way that I'm interpreting that is he is just flat out saying, yeah, no, these characters are all clones of Goku, and it's like, nah.
All right, so quickly make his argument for him a better argument for him, even.
A better argument for him would have been if he said, these series. If he was, the problem is like he's talking like this whole time he's talking about characters, right? He would have had to have like talked about like the plot, like the structure of the story, right? If he had said these were Dragon Ball clones, it would still be a really insane point. But again, I made that argument just before where I said, look, they all have the tournament type arcs, they all have the big bads, they all have the training. The character loses sometimes, and then he has to go and do the trains.
Somebody tears a bomb, etc.
He gets a big new power up and a new weapon or a new ability that allows him to beat the bad guy, or kind of like Dragon Ball. He gets the new Saiyan level or whatever. Like. That DNA, right? I wouldn't say it's a clone, but I could understand like his argument better if he had been like, okay, so the DNA through line history, right, of the traits shared between them could make him say that they were clones. Because that's the core problem, is if he's talking just about the characters, it's a completely like you can't, like, in order to make that argument, you would have to like. They would have to actually be clones, and they're not. It's kind of hard.
So
but if he wanted to make the same point of comparing that to Isekai, he should have like structured this to talk less about the characters and more about the structure of the actual series, and go, okay, here's what Isekai has in common with ecchi harem shows, right? And here's how this is a problem to me, because I believe that whatever ecchi harems are bad or whatever, like he would have to because he's been wishy-washy the whole fucking time. He would have to actually take a stance and try and defend it.
My thing is that if you want to make a better argument, say, all right, these shonens, and I believe his argument is that these shonen clones are more varied than isekai clones. All right, so instead of saying Dragon Ball clones, say these standard shonen protagonists, and then there's a great variety in these
Yeah.
shonen protagonists. Even Light from Death Note is a shonen protagonist.
Which was kind of the point that he was making with the My Hero Academia stuff before. So he could tie that into his finding, because he's in his closing argument now. He's got 2 minutes left, right? So he could use this to like tie that point together,
and
right?
then
so I can understand.
and then he would be very smart and big brained and says Naro protagonists fall within a similar category, and then but that's because I think that isekai is too narrow of a category. It would be more comparing tournament shonen, battle tournament shonen against isekai. That's a more narrow band of protagonists in battle shonen tournaments and isekai protagonists. Isekai protagonist,
right?
But compare the wide spectrum of shonen protagonists against the spectrum of isekai protagonists. That would show that shonen has more things to pick up, things to choose from, and isekai doesn't. And then you can say, well, isekai should have more varied protagonists.
Should be more varied.
And then he's ignoring stuff like villainous stories, and then how dare you?
Well, yeah, he's ignoring the Otome games. He's ignoring stuff like Overlord.
He's erasing the women in the space,
He's being a true male feminist, yeah. So that was like that's us steel manning his argument.
Well, it's not his argument, though.
That is what. Well, no, but like, if we were going to steel man what I think he was trying to get at, I feel like that actually is what he's trying to say. He's just doing a very poor job at saying it, right? Like, I can kind of get where, like, the matches, right? Where those like points kind of match, and where I feel like that's what he could have probably gone into, but what he's gone into here is just, oh mate,
yeah,
that was a doozy. But anyway, we're almost there, a little bit longer.
Who enjoy it. Everyone's suddenly an incel who can't imagine getting women till they're sent to another world where everyone wants to fuck them.
I mean, a lot of the time we don't even really get to see what the people were like before they got isekai'd. So I don't know what he's talking about.
Really though, because
like, they're all incels or whatever that don't know how to get a woman until they get transformed.
I do think that's a kind of an anime problem, because stuff like you get an idea for what happens in how their life was in Overlord. You get at least in the anime, you see a glimpse of Slime. You get a glimpse of a Shield Hero.
Later in Log Horizon, you see a few scenes.
And then you have Konosuba and Drifters also, I guess.
Well, yeah.
So there are quite a few shows that actually and Mushoku Tensei
and a little bit, yeah. Well, the question is, are they all incels like Mushoku Tensei?
No,
I don't think so.
Satoru in Overlord wasn't. Naofumi in Shield Hero wasn't. I guess Slime, because his one dying request was to erase his computer.
Well, I mean, he was a functioning member of society.
He had a job.
Though. Like, he did. Yeah, and he had friends too, because he died trying to save his friend from getting stabbed.
And 300 years of killing slimes was a woman who worked herself to death, so that was a very productive member of society. Good job, Japanese work culture.
Yeah. Yeah, so I don't. Yeah, again, this kind of comes back down to like he's kind of shoehorning a lot of stuff into like a very like the same box when it's a bit more complicated than that.
I get that those are able to do this a little bit more grace, have an actual story they want to tell, but at a certain point, it really does feel either condescending or actually pandering. With the importance of telling a great story seems to diminish, as there's just so much of it. You can't really guarantee people will tune in, as stuff will just get lost in the clutter. So to really keep people's attention, it's now more concept-based stories. In Another World with a Smartphone being the perfect example of a show that seems like it was created for the title first, and everything after is just padding to justify its runtime for the people who clicked half curiously. There's just so many
It was
cans
first a
of
web
worms you
novel,
can get
though.
into talking about anime. I'm okay with there having a generic protagonist that grows throughout the story, but so many of these guys feel like the world is just
Again, he's doing this phase. He's like, okay, I'm okay with it, but I'm gonna bitch about it for 20 minutes.
Because I didn't like this
Right?
one, and that belongs it's the bad sort.
It's kind of weird. It's kind of weird.
reinforcing how great they are, and that's just it. And so busy trying to hit these different notes till you realize it doesn't know how to play them. But the homogeny with which anime uses the everyman to create its self-inserts for stories that copy from one another has just created a glut of content that just isn't worth watching. It's everything you've seen before with only the slightest of twists, and no amount of anime titties can distract me from that. Thank you for watching. This has been Sarcastic Chorus. But please pretend to like, share it to everyone who hates it. Just go live your best lives, honestly. I don't really care at this point. Just honestly, I want everyone to go out and live their best lives. All of you, you, especially you, go out there, live your best. Don't be the generic anime protagonist. Be the best you that you can be. Yada,
I'm
yada,
letting
yada.
it
Peace out.
finish.
All right.
Oh, there we go. It's done. So, man, that was a ride. Holy shit.
I think it's a very vague video. He knows that he has an idea for what he thinks is a bad protagonist, but there are also ones that are good, and therefore he kind of artificially creates this separation between the good and the bad. But the only real difference is I like this one.
He doesn't really explain it, and I feel like he should have. If I was making this video, right, to Steelman him again, right, I would have picked like 4 shows or something, right? I would have been like, okay, 2 good, 2 bad, right? Here is the 2 good shows, here is the 2 bad shows. I'm now going to compare and contrast. This is what I think that a good example of, like, I would keep it within, like, maybe isekai as well, right? Or maybe do, like, 2 isekais and 2 harem shows, right? One bad, one good each, right? And I can go, right. Here is an example of the good isekai. I think Overlord is a good isekai. The protagonist has some depth to him. He's dealing with the fact that he has to keep up this facade while not knowing what he's doing. He's just kind of bumbling his way through everything, and the subordinates are kind of running the show, even though they don't realize they're running the show. There's interesting dynamics there that play into that, and how he's interacting with the world and his motivations, and stuff
and
we've already seen before.
He picks on smartphone isekai as the bad one. No, zero.
Yeah. You could go smartphone isekai as the bad one, because I haven't watched smartphone isekai, so I'm just going to talk out my ass, right? Like I could just say, oh, the protagonist doesn't really have a personality. He's kind of bland. He kind of wins at everything. He doesn't have to really fight or overcome any kind of obstacle like Ainz sort of does, where he's overcoming the fact, as I mentioned, that he doesn't, whatever. And then you can contrast that with the 2 ecchi. So you could go, oh, okay, so High School DxD, you have I'm blanking at his name. But I'll use High School DxD because I'm familiar with that, right? So he's the lovable pervert type character. He kind of has a personality. He does genuinely care about these girls. He has a direct end goal point of wanting to have the harem, right? So he's not just falling into it. That is his goal. He wants to make the harem. That's his whole entire motivation for wanting to become stronger and more powerful, right, is to get all the girls. So that means that it's fine. He's not necessarily a self-insert, even though he is technically performing the act that the audience presumably would want to do. Compare and contrast that to
To Love Ru is the one big example they gave.
Well, you could use To Love Ru. Again, I haven't watched To Love Ru, but I could say, yeah, he's more bland. He's just kind of fumbling into these situations. He's, managing to, have it all be bloody swiped to the side. He doesn't really have much agency in the story. He's just kind of going along with the flow, And then you could compare and contrast these 4 shows with, the isekai examples and the ecchi examples. And you could go, right, you can then build up a thesis of, hey, this is what I think a good and a bad one is. I have a problem with the fact that I'm seeing too many of the bad ones. Maybe we should be voicing ourselves a bit better so that we can, say, hey, let's not support these ones that we think are bad, create like a thing around it and kind of go from there, right? I feel like that would be a much stronger video than this, because my biggest problem to kind of close out, right, is that he's very wishy-washy, non-combative. Oh, well, I don't like this, but it's okay, though, if you like it, and it's fine. It's like, no. You have to actually take a stand. You have to say, right, I don't like this.
All right, now let's see. I see one big flaw in your setup. Your premise.
Hit me with my hit
This
me.
doesn't
What do you got?
address anything in regards that anime is now oversaturated.
That's true. I think the second part would then have to be that he would have to show examples to prove that point and be like, okay, here's a bunch of other examples of anime within like the last 3 years that have the bad, right, now that he's defined what that means to him.
Yeah.
Right? Here is my like that would be like the second half of the video, right? Like because he's got 20 minutes, right? We've got 10 minutes to set up what I just talked about, going over the examples, and then he's got 10 minutes to be like, right, here's some examples. Let's see if they tick the tick boxes of what I think is bad, right? And then I can prove anime has an everyman problem, in my opinion, or whatever, and I think that we need to do something about it, that being not support these shows, right? Or something like that, right? That is where... or whatever. That's where I would go with this, right? That's how I would have produced this. But of course, we're not in the world where I actually produce my own content because I'm a lazy fuck. But my thing is, he was very wishy-washy. There was a lot of fucking red flags going off in my head where it felt like he was trying to hide his power level and not actually state what his actual opinions on stuff are. I don't know why that would be, or maybe it's an audience thing. Who knows? I feel like, he needed to be a lot better in it, because we could go on about all the normal stuff we critique, right? Like not know, the anime tunnel vision, the not knowing the histories, the not, but we've gone over that shit fucking 100 times already, right? I'm trying to go over like stuff that's different from this video and other videos, right? Because the start of it was very much just the same shit we've always had to deal with. It's kind of the later half and like the midway point where shit kind of went off the rails for me when he started talking about ecchi, and I got very triggered. I got very fucking triggered. I feel like he needed to have a better structure, a better focus. He needed to actually create a thesis statement to be like, right, this is what I'm talking about. This is the problem. This is why it's a problem. This is what we need to go into. Instead of just kind of going around and going, right, well, I kind of have a problem with ecchi protagonist because of this, but it's okay. So that's my closing thoughts, and what I think he could have done better. So what are your closing thoughts?
Well, I kind of joined your better video or better premise for a video thing. Lacking a good central argument, there were no clear definitions were made, a lot of inferring, a lot of associations build up, and then they got broken by, then he singles out isekai, despite, showing them back to back with non-isekai earlier, and then, undistinguishing them again later by showing them back to back after he said isekai especially, and then showing To Love Ru, and
he also singles out the ecchis and the harems as well.
But then he shows them with the isekais and the rest and the etc.
And acts like they are one and the same as well.
Yeah, I'm just
even though they share elements, he acts like they're one and the same in a sense.
I'm just kind of bothered by the lack of definitions and a clear message, a clear thesis.
Clear point.
And that's why that's why I didn't understand what he was going for. Because without clearly defining what he thinks is a good or bad character, then what do I get from this? I get
Yeah, I think he tries to do that, but he doesn't really do it well because it's too vague, like you said.
yeah,
before.
because he says
comes
that
off
Rudy
too
is a good
vague.
example, and I agree that Rudy is a good character because he learned something in the new world to be better.
He has actual character
Yeah,
development.
but then
yeah.
he says
As a
that
character.
he kind of shows ReZero in a lot of negative light. So does ReZero not fall in that category? It's very unclear.
And then he has those 3 other shows that kept popping
And
up
then
all the
he
time.
never
that I don't know the
even
names of.
mentions the show's name. I guess Smartphone he mentions all kind of offhandedly.
Yeah, smartphone, Ragnarok, and I think there's one other one that I saw quite a few times. Yeah.
So if he just mentions the show, that's kind of gives me and the viewers a more clearly defined example. Just, cite your sources, define your... provide...
Define your terms,
Cite sources, define terms, state theses, and that's what I kind of I missed all of those elements.
Right. All right. Well, I guess if there's nothing else, this has been another episode of Critical Critique. Was a point. And we'll see you guys on the next one. Have a good rest of your day.
Later.
Bye.